Hey, everybody. Hey, oh, no. I lost Ruel.
Not Ruel.
No, it is not. It is very much not Ruel. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? Before we continue with explaining what is happening here, folks, can you see me and can you see and hear my guest co-host, Chris?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
I hear you, and I guess it could be a once. Oh, yes! Yay, says
Perfect.
BT
Great.
Travis. Okay. I'm sure technical difficulties will befoul this stream, but hey to Goblin and Travis and Party On Dudes and Majgwa82 and all the rest of you. Here's the deal, folks. You will be getting some Ruel today. There will be the second R, but Ruel could not make it actually for the live streaming of this show. He had some other stuff to do this morning, but after Chris George of Room and Board and I are done doing episode 56 of the R&R show, we will be raiding Ruel, and he will be doing a live playthrough of Dickory Dock, which I think is a new game. I don't think it's... I'm not sure what the situation with it is. He said, I'm doing Dickory Docks. I'm like, what is that? And he said, you'll find out at 2 p.m. PST on Tuesday. So
it's the sequel to Hickory Dickory.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, the weird thing is there are 2 Dickory Dock games coming out within the space of 2 months, because there's one from Elf Creek game called The Clocks of Dickory Dock, and then there's this other one, which Ruel is covering, I believe just called Dickory Dock. So that is a real, Armageddon deep impact misfortune that these publishers have found themselves in.
I always go for the rhyming personally, so I would be excited to check out Dickory Dock because I think it'll be underserved, as the Clocks will get all the attention.
It is hard to avoid the Clocks of Dickory Docks. And ironically, I'll be covering the Clocks of Dickory Docks in January. So, we'll figure it out. But in the meantime, hey, everybody, this is Chris George. And when Ruel couldn't make it, I was like, okay, wanted to do the top 10 crowdfunded games of 2022, because I thought that would be of interest to people. And if it couldn't be Ruel, Chris was my absolute first choice, because if you've never checked out his channel, you really should. I am a subscriber, have been for quite a while. He does a bunch of stuff, and one of them is a weekly... Is it weekly? Yeah.
Weekly,
it is weekly, because you break it down by the week. Kickstarter, crowdfunding, I should say, summary, and it is so much better than my crowdsourcery show.
Well, I try to go in as depth as possible as to what's leaving Kickstarter that week.
Yeah,
because I find a lot of Kickstarter games get a lot of coverage at the beginning of their life cycle, and then because of the nature of this beast of everything always coming out all at once, we kind of lose a sense of what is finishing up and what those deadlines are. And so that's why I try to cover at the end of the week to see what sort of stretch goals are unlocked, what value that game can provide, and if it's even funding too, because there's a lot of games out there, and I try to look into every single one. I think I looked into over 500 games on Kickstarter this past year.
Yeah.
And so anything that's not going to be funding, well, great. That at least takes one off of my list, one rule book less that I have to read. So selfishly, that's
you don't
why
try to save those poor struggling things by doubling down on those and...
I would if they were still around in their final week, but they often cancel beforehand and try to re-up and reevaluate. If it's close, like if the funding's close, then I like to give them a shout out too, and see if we can push them over the finish line. And that also helps knowing that it's the final week. And, and your deadline is approaching. And for some of these games, a lot of the indie games, I like covering as well, because I know, there's such an amount of games out there, and I like to give everybody a fair shot, at least for my purposes.
Except for Queen Games.
Except for Queen Games, which is one of my favorite bits to pick on. And I don't know why I got mad at Queen Games once, but I've just kept it up now, and now it's the thing. and I'm sorry, Queen Games, but lower your shipping, and then we can talk.
Yeah, actually, that's the other thing too that's unique about your show. I mean, I think there's 2 main things. There's 3 things that are unique about your show. One, you are, in your day job, a professional actor and comedian, and you're very funny.
True.
A lot of us try to be funny. You are genuinely, effortlessly funny, which means you better deliver for this show. God damn it.
Pressure's on.
Indeed. Two, you really dig deep. You, like your number one complaint is, where are the rules? I can't evaluate this if you don't give me the rules to read, and woe betide you if you don't put the rules up at the top of the page to make it easy for me to find, because you know how much time I'm having to spend on this already. And three, you spend more time than anybody, even, I would say, even more than Alex Radcliffe, drilling down on the actual potential value, not resale value, which is kind of like Alex's shtick, but instead just, hey, what are you getting for this? Are you going to be satisfied with this purchase, considering the game, considering all the components, and considering the shipping, with a Canadian bent? But I think you really address it broadly, and I think that really makes you stand out. I mean, I've been doing my crowdsourcery for a few months, and I immediately got into the habit of always watching yours to make sure I wasn't missing something, because you just dig so much deeper than I do.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, the value thing is important for me because I'm real cheap. You know, being an actor as a day job also means that I'm poor, and so I want to approach it from that sort of budget conscious slant. That's what a lot of my channel is about too. Like recognizing that there's all sorts of people, and not all of us have unlimited budgets to spend on games forever, and unlimited time too. So really making sure that what you get, you'll feel good about purchasing. I try to get a lot of my games on the secondhand market and get them for cheaper than at retail. But so if you're spending the money to get it at retail, or even at Kickstarter, where you do have to factor in those giant shipping costs that sometimes are unexpected and sometimes are a little bit more, you want to still be so excited. At least for me, I want to still be so excited about that game coming to my door that I don't mind having to pay that extra shipping cost, because I'm just so over the moon about the game, right? So that's the angle that I try to focus.
Yeah, I mean,
on.
Speaking of that angle, I mean, I think probably your most successful series you do on your channel is top 5 reasons not to back this game.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah. I started that just way back with Marvel United X-Men. And I saw so many. I felt the pull of Marvel United X-Men, and I was thinking to myself, why are you so interested in this game when Marvel United is out at retail for like $30? You could go and try it, and like I hadn't even read the rule book, but I'm like, ooh, I want all those cute little figures.
Or you could pay $500 today for a game you'll get in a year. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And so just looking at things in terms of like, it's easy for me as Chris to get excited about games, but it's also easy for me as Chris to overspend and want to go into debt for games, which I don't think future Chris would be very appreciative of if past Chris kept on doing that to him.
Well, folks, if any of that sounds interesting to you, I just put his link down at the bottom, youtube.com/Room&Board Reviews. Not Room and Board, unfortunately, because somebody beat him to that name. And even though he's eclipsed them in terms of subscribers, and they're talking about all kinds of sweet, sofas and Barca loungers, you want Room and Board Reviews to check him out. But, folks, this is still the R&R show. I think we'll just take the R at the end of Chris, or in the middle of Chris.
Well, it's Room and Board. That's why I figured you asked me on.
Oh my gosh,
because,
of course.
You could bring in Room and Board. It's really the only reason why I went with an R starting on my channel name, because I was like, one day I'm going to get on R&R. One day Ruel's going to be sick. And when that happens, I'm going to be there to pick up the pieces, baby.
That is perfect.
Lifelong dream here, really.
I'm really embarrassed to admit that it didn't even occur to me. But yes, today we'll be doing the Rahdo and Room and Board show instead of the Rahdo and Ruel show. But remember, Ruel will be, I don't think he's sick. I'm not actually sure what it was, but he will be here this afternoon. Just couldn't make it this morning. So, I know you know the show, and I know you know that in the pre-show, we do silly japes and hijinks as per the request of the audience, who, by the way, it occurs to me, I have not said proper hello. First, you're getting the first-time chats here from Roshko. You got one of these, Roshko, which I do not know how to do, but there is already love for you amongst the crowd, which is very, very nice. And, Hama immediately knew you by name, knew your last name or your second first name. What's your middle name?
I have two middle names, Charles and Frederick. So my full name is Christopher Charles Frederick George the Third. No, it's not the third. I just added that last part up.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you've asked what your parents were thinking.
Well, my dad's name is Charles, and my grandfather's name is Frederick. So my mom wanted it to be my dad's name. My dad wanted it to be my grandfather's name. And I'm the youngest, so it was their last chance. So they just crammed them all in.
because they were absolutely positive there would be no more. That's fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, so, yep, everything seems to be going fine. So, let me go on ahead and pull up the request. Folks, as you know, if you watch this show, the longer you watch, the more points you get. We have an outstanding top 3 to do and a Ruel Ranks, which I think today will be a Room&Board Ranks instead. So, what is your username on Board Game Geek, Chris?
Chris CF George.
Chris CF George. I'm going to go to boardgamegeek.com and I'm going to bring up the browser and I'm going to do a search for. Come on.
Yeah, I don't rank a lot of things on Board Game Geek. I rank some things that I like a lot, and then some things that I dislike a lot, and then all the sort of middle ground. I tend to. I don't know. I tend to just leave and figure out that future Chris will figure that out later.
What was it? Chris CF?
Yeah, Chris C.F. George, like Charles Frederick, coincidentally.
Yes, what a coincidence. Yes, there we are.
That's it.
And, okay, yes, we are now looking at your collection of 175 owned games. Let's turn off the expansions, which brings us down to 166. All right, sorting them by what you've ranked. Yes, you've ranked almost nothing.
Almost nothing.
You're actually worse than Ruel at this. Okay. So, now, correct me if I'm wrong, you can see what's on the screen through...
I can see it, yeah.
All right. So, you need to pick, like, 5 games that you would be interested in doing a little mini review now. And then after we're done, I'll tell you if you were right or wrong.
Okay, all right.
So, any of these. If not, I will scroll to the next page.
Any of those? Let's do Scythe. I just played that recently.
Okay, all right. Scythe. Classic. All righty. How about
Dutch
any of these?
Blitz. Have you played Dutch Blitz too?
No, I've not.
Oh, let's put
You
Dutch
wanna?
Blitz.
All right.
Yeah.
Dutch Blitz. A wonderful good game. Yes. I don't know that's going to get many votes, but we'll give it a try. How about any of these?
That's the best one. Let's go with Keyflower.
Keyflower. One of my top 10 faves of all time. So you better rate that wisely. How about any of these?
Let's go with Meeple Circus on that one.
Meeple Circus. Is that the stacking meeples, flipping meeple stuff?
Yeah,
I remember
that's
that
exactly
one.
it.
Circus.
It's a
and one more. Any
favorite
of these?
my parents. Let's go with Gizmos.
Gizmos? That's a blast from the past. Okay, folks. You have 2 minutes to pick which of those 5 games Chris is going to do a mini review and rank of, and then I will weigh in on my opinion. As always, you can cheat and use bits to juke the stats or your channel points and all of that, and you've got 2 minutes to go. And of course, Scythe takes the... I mean, is there anything that hasn't already been said 1,000 times about Scythe? Do you really want to hear? I mean, does nobody want Dutch Blitz? You've never even heard of that. Come on,
Dutch Blitz
Scythe.
is a fantastic game, and you won't know how fantastic unless you all switch your votes to Dutch Blitz right now.
I believe you can change your votes mid-vote if you would like, yes. All right.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I put in my vote. And oh my gosh, actually, that impassioned plea has now made a big push for Dutch Blitz. Look at that.
Go,
but Scythe is fighting back. Stegmeyer will not be denied.
No, come on.
You do not mess with the Stonemeyer.
Where's the Dutch Blitz gang rising up?
Well, to be fair, there are several people who hold back until like the last 5 seconds as if they're sniping on eBay. So it's still anybody's game except for poor Meeple Circus.
Except for Meeple Circus.
Well, Meeple Circus is going to get no love. You said you got it from your parents?
No, my parents love it. My parents always request it whenever I come home, and I want to bring other games, and they say, but what about Meeple Circus? I think it's just really accessible and fun stacking. The little goals that you get, you're gonna have 3 rounds, and you have different shapes of meeples to create. But the most fun is just trying to build your stack as high as possible with a little red meeple, because however high the red meeple is, you get points based on its height, and so you just really go for gold every time.
Well, your impassioned plea has brought in 1 additional vote for Meeple Circus. I'm afraid you will have to do better on whatever the final winner is.
That's fair. Meeple Circus is good, but I think it's just good. But it's really accessible, and it's really accessible to a wide audience too, which is
very
why
much
it's
so. Yeah. Oh no, it's super charming.
Mainstay.
And well, you did it. Dutch Blitz destroys Scythe. Dutch
Yeah.
Blitz, the new top 100 candidate for Board Game Geek. No one will ever be speaking about Scythe again after today. So we're just talking base Dutch Blitz, not the blue expansion pack. Dutch Blitz, by the way, published in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, tell us all about it. Why
All
are
right.
we here talking about be the first to play all the cards in this fast-paced solitaire-style game? Although it says
Yeah.
for 2 to 4. So it's already very misleading in its little blurb there.
Well, it's actually speed solitaire. It's like competitive speed solitaire.
Do you
That's
mean,
how you
and when you
describe
say solitaire, you mean Klondike, right?
I
Specifically?
yeah, I mean the standard
Right.
stack your cards because you can stack your cards. You can stack a 9 on a 10 as long as they're different colors. And the whole goal is you're gonna have a pile of 10 cards, and you want to get rid of that pile of 10 cards as quickly as possible. But the only way to get rid of cards is by playing them in ascending order from 1 to 10 in the middle piles. But anybody can play on piles in the middle. So yeah, right there that shows the sort of chaos that can ensue. There'll be multiple piles starting, and you're going to be flipping through your stack of cards, your deck of cards, 3 at a time, trying to put out as many cards as you can in the middle before everyone else. And once somebody gets rid of the 10 card stack, they say blitz. Everybody stops. You get 1 point for every card in the middle of the game, in the middle of the table, and you lose 2 points for every card left over in your blitz pile. So if you haven't gotten enough cards out in the middle, you can go into the negative points, and first person to 75 points wins. I have so much fun with this game. This game is legitimately, and I haven't done this yet on my channel. I probably will when I hit 10K. I think I'm going to do my like top 10 or top 20. This is spoiler alert. This is in my top 10 games.
Jeez
of all time.
Louise.
I love this game so much because of the energy that it takes around the table. My friends and I will play little anime soundtracks in the background, and when the beat drops, then we'll start the game, and we'll just be furiously flying back and forth. And so it's about managing you have 3 little piles off to the side of your pile of 10, which you can use to stack the cards.
Yeah, I'm
10,
looking.
9,
So I
8.
could stack them into the center or into my own.
Into your own, exactly. And so the goal is, as long as you get them out of your blitz pile, that's all that matters. And then you have the rest of your cards in a deck that you're flipping up 3 at a time. It's so good. The expansion pack is the exact same game as the regular game. You just add in different color decks so that of the back of them, so that more people can play. So you can play an 8-player game instead of a 4-player.
I mean, this
game.
looks like you could play it with just a standard deck of 52 cards. Is that not the case?
You could. Yeah,
Okay.
there's actually 40 cards. You would take out the Jack,
The
King,
face,
Queen.
cards.
Yeah, the face cards. You just go from 1 to 10. But that's exactly it. And how you stack is basically like the reds and the blacks. So there's 2 suits. It's boys and girls, and so you have to stack a girl on a boy. You can't stack a boy on a boy.
Okay.
But because they're different colors, that also adds to the tracking of, oh shoot, is this a boy or a girl? Like as you're stacking, and sometimes you make a mistake.
Yeah, I noticed. So you have to go same suit if you're putting them in the center, as opposed to
Correct.
alternating suits if you're playing to your own area.
Yeah, but in those alternating suits, you can't put a red or a blue card on top of each other because those are both boy cards, and then you can't put a yellow or a green on top of each other because those are both girl cards. They're basically representing the black and the reds of a standard deck of cards, but it's just changed for this way. Yeah. And then everybody has a unique symbol on the back of their cards that when you gather all the cards in the middle, you flip them over, you can deal them out based upon the symbols on the back. Yeah, it's so fun. It is my favorite speed game. I've played Dutch Blitz starting at like 8 p.m. and going till like 4 a.m. in the morning. 4 a.m. I will never get tired of this game. I just find it so fun. And I was on a contract recently, and there's so many different variations. It's interesting with card games too, because you learn them. I feel like card games, nobody sits down and reads a rule book for a card game, right? You learn it the way it's taught, then those are the rules.
Yeah.
And then luckily there is a rule book in the Dutch Blitz pack, but when I was telling some people, no, that's actually wrong in how you're playing, they're like, no, I played my way and I like it better, and that's fine, right? Because it's just a card game. It's just for fun, and however you have fun with a group. But yeah, Dutch Blitz. You want a rating out of 10? I give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
I would give it a 10 out of 10. I love this game so much. I have to. It's in my top 10 games of all time.
I think you would be required to do so. That's legally obligated.
I would have to do it. Yeah.
Wow, that is That is by far, I think, the oldest game we have talked about in any length of time on this show. So you are totally bringing the cults of the old. You're living up to your whole, hey, I'm all about value, since you don't even have to buy this thing. Although
That's true. You just use a standard deck of cards.
Yeah. Although it
But
seems like if you use these cards, it would be easier to play because there's the more clearly, distinctly delineated colors. That's probably going to help play, I think, quite a bit.
The delineated colors, and well, everybody would need their own deck of 40 cards. That's the thing.
Oh, because I see. Right. Okay.
The way you sort it is through the backs, so they would have to have different backs as well, because that's how you can tally who got what into the middle and how you can give those cards back to their respective
so they'd
decks.
have to be like 4 different packs of bicycle cards from a gift shop or something like that. Or instead, folks, just go to the Dutch Blitz Games company. There's a company that's sole purpose is to sell you this game, which is in Chris George's personal top 10 games of all time, even though it came out in 1960. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, Bonzinator in the chat is saying she loves Dutch Blitz. That's what's up, Bonzinator.
That's what this man brings to the party. I mean,
we'll have
both
to play.
Virtual and in real life. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you're here. I don't think that ever would have come up in a million years. So
I don't think it would have either.
You are now obligated, next time people check you out, Chris CF George on Board Game Geek, that they will have to find that has been ranked a 10. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Which, by the way, currently ranks number 167 in Board Game Geek's party list, which isn't bad, actually, for a game that came out in 1960. So, I would imagine the Board Game Geek Zeitgeist agrees with you. That's a good call. That's a good start. Things are going well so far. Yay.
Yeah, Mr. Boom in the chat saying how necessary is the expansion for Dutch Blitz. It isn't necessary at all. I find 4 players is kind of my optimal player count as well. But because with more players, it's going to go a lot quicker. It's going to be a little bit more random because it'll be more dependent on who gets a good breakdown in their stack and can get those out pretty quickly. So I would just start with 1 pack, but it's nice to have 2 packs. I specifically don't have the green box. I have the blue box because I know a bunch of people who have the green box. And then I know if we want to get together, I can bring my expansion pack, which plays exactly the same, right? It's just the different cards on the back, and we can mix and match and play up to 8 if we wanted to. But I think my optimal count would be like 4 people.
So you are part of a Dutch Blitz network in the Great White North, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
effectively.
Oh yeah, I'm pushing to make Dutch Blitz our national board game over Crokinole. If I had my druthers.
That is interesting.
Although I suppose the Netherlands might have claim to it first, but
they are in the title after all.
We might be able to make a play for it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the first thing that North America has stolen. So I'm down for it. They just need to rename it Canada Blitz, obviously, or Canuck Blitz, perhaps. I don't know.
Canuck Blitz.
I like it. All right, cool. Well, folks, that was one thing. Let me go on ahead and pull up the list, see if you have requested anything else. I am marking that Ruel or that Room and Board Ranks as complete. And we also, Ruckus, regular of the show, has requested a top 3. So now the audience has to make suggestions. What would they like to hear the top 3 of? And it could be game related, it could be pop culture related, it could be culinary related, it could be Canada related. And if you, Chris, when they start actually making suggestions for top 3 topics, if you see any that strike your fancy. Although, wait a minute. Thundergriff Games just rated. Hey, Thundergriff Games. You're still my favorite raider. Let's start the whole show over again now that Thundergriff has finally made it to the party, pal. Hey, everybody. This is not Ruel. This is Chris George of Room and Board. Today, it's not the Rahdo and Ruel show. It's the Rahdo and Room and Board show, which is just as trippingly off the tongue that rolls. And we're in the pre-show right now, and we are about to do a top 3, but you, the audience members, have to tell us what type of topics would you like for us combined to do a definitive top 3 of?
We've got one suggestion by Bonzinator right now, so that says it's the only one that I see so far.
Okay.
Top 3 games that take a long time to play, 2+ hours.
Long games. All right.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good one.
2+ hour games. All right, that's good. That's a good one. All right.
Roshko's saying top 3 games that were featured in World Series of Board Games because he's one of my community members, one of my Patreon members, so they know. I also have done some work for the World Series of Board Gaming.
Yes, you have.
As well, I was their director of production and will be their director of production kind of for the upcoming event as well.
Well, if that gets chosen, I'm sure you have all kinds of exciting stories. Give me another one.
What else do we got? Top 3 holiday movies.
Holiday movies. We just literally did that last week. Did we not? We did do
I
that one
think you
last
did.
week.
I
That
think
was the
you
one that
did
was
because
chosen.
I watched it. I watched it last week in preparation for this, and I remember that you were talking about Die Hard top 8+ player games. That'd be a tough one.
Can you pull off 3? Because I'm kind of known for, I mean, only playing 2-player games. I would struggle with that one.
Yeah, that one would be tough. 8 is a tough number. I know what my number 1 would be. I know what my number 2 would be for that.
Give me more
Maybe we
options.
can get one. Top 3 holiday foods. That's what's being thrown out in the chat.
Okay, that's a good one.
What else was there? Top 3 games to play co-op with a girl.
Co-op with a girl. I'm going to amend that to co-op on a date, let's say.
Yeah, co-op on a date.
There we go.
Co-op on a date.
I like that. All right, just need one more.
I'm trying to think of. I'm now desperately.
You know what? You're a guest. You could suggest one if you like.
I could suggest.
What would you like to listen? All right.
I like the chat. I like the chat.
All right.
Because they're much smarter than me. Top 3 mean games. That's a good one.
Ooh, I got stuff to say about that. Yeah. Alrighty, there we go. Folks, you once again have 2 minutes. Let the voting begin. Let me go on ahead and bring Chris's beautiful, beautiful face back on screen. There we go. It tends to be that the non-game ones don't make it, but we have a bunch of game ones. And so far, the early odds-on favorite is Mean Games with 2-hour plus games. Oh, no, 2-hour plus games is really taking control. No, again, nobody wants to hear about holiday foods. I will give it 1 vote, just in honor of the holidays, to talk about. Although honestly, I'm drawing a blank. That would be a tough one. I can't even think of any holiday foods that are particularly meaningful to me.
Do you have a tradition? A figgy pudding?
There you go.
Wow.
I don't even know what exactly one is, but I like the word.
I think a figgy pudding would be like similar to a bread pudding, just with figs as the main ingredient rather than bread. Or maybe like a sticky toffee pudding, but like figs instead of dates, right?
You're really going deep on that figgy pudding.
Hey, I've thought a lot about it. We were singing about it at the end of We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
That's true.
When I was doing A Christmas Carol.
All right. Yeah, I think it's going to be Mean Games or 2-hour plus games. That is interesting. Well, while we're waiting, since nobody cares about the World Series of Board Games on this particular live stream, that's the Vegas thing, right? They did their first one, they're doing the next one. And you're more than just somebody who goes, you said you were director of operations. What was that?
Yeah, I'm like the director of production, so I took care of all the live streaming aspects.
I see.
In behind, and so this year I'm working with them a little bit behind the scenes, working on their marketing, just making sure that like the word gets put out that what the World Series has to offer, and then come the day, I'll be dealing with all sort of their live streaming. We really tried to do it as big as possible with a small budget this past year, and so I'm pushing to maybe get a few more cameras in, get a few more things set up to tracking scoreboards.
Oh wow!
So people can see who's still in. I've got a lot of. It's nice to be on the team earlier this year, because then I can start thinking a little bit more about how to implement and make it like an exciting event for everybody who attends, but also exciting for those at home, and make it a fun live stream event.
So this did not turn out to be the board game equivalent of that boondoggle.
The Fire Festival?
Yeah.
It was not the Fire Festival. Bonzinator was actually there. Bonzinator was there. Bonzinator won the door prize of a game theory table.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she won that was a really good video of her celebrating, rightly so. Bonzinator also made it to the finals of Blood Rage. So she almost took home the ring of the championship ring in Blood Rage. That was a really fun final table. A nice group. What I really loved about the event, and this is what I've been saying quite often, is that like I was worried that it would be people who I wouldn't want to game with being there. You know what I mean? Like too competitive. Because I think that's the thing that often alienates people.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like I play games for fun. Like I play games for fun, but also when I'm playing them, I like to be competitive.
Yeah.
And so what I really appreciated, especially about that final table and all throughout, was the sort of camaraderie that happened. It was just kind of like another convention, except in this one, somebody walked away with $25,000.
That's all. No big deal.
That's all. No big deal.
Or you get a table just for showing up, apparently.
Or you get a table just for showing up. Yeah, Bonzinator won the door prize table. And
that offer not binding in the state of Las Vegas or Nevada. Sorry, folks.
Everyone gets a table. You heard it here first.
There you go. You can take that to the bank. Bonzinator, at the same time, says you did a fantastic job running the show, and it's glad. I was aware of it. I had no idea it was so big, and it sounds like it'll be even bigger next year. But in the meantime, folks didn't want, even though we just spent all this time talking about the thing that folks very specifically said they wanted to hear more about figgy puddings than they did about that. We just ended up talking about, and you can hear more about it, folks, on Chris's channel. I strongly suggest everybody go and subscribe. So what was it? It was long games, wasn't it? It
was long games.
All right.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Well, do any jump out at you as that are and audience, you too. Anybody have any recommendations for the greatest long 2-hour plus games of all time?
I feel pretty comfortable in this category because I generally like games when they're longer than 2+ hours. When somebody said long games and then 2+ hours, I think, oh, that's a standard game. I'll try to aim for 3 to 4 hours. Because I find with like any crunchy Euro is going to take around 2 hours.
Right.
At least for me.
Well, if you're playing at a 4-player game, sure.
If you're playing it at 4-player, playing in a group, right? Like that's kind of the event of the night. I know, not to only talk about World Series, but I know at that level, some games took like 4 hours. I think our longest was Gaia Project at 5 hours, and that was very long. That's not going to make it on my list. I have my 3, I think. Well, Arc Nova. Arc Nova is a really good one. That's not on my list, but it is long.
Arc Nova, that is probably one of the games that I would probably seriously consider nominating that as one of the 3. My wife and I, we used to have more stamina for long games when we were younger, in our younger salad days, as opposed to now. But yeah, Arc Nova is definitely one where the time just zips on by and we don't even give it a second thought. But what do you like? Give us one.
Okay, well, one that I'm going to put on here that I played recently that I've really been enjoying, and I've never been able to play it in under 2 hours, so I think it qualifies as a long game, even though I think I should be able to get it down to that. But currently, it's Anachrony.
Yeah, sure.
Anachrony, I think all my plays have been 3 to 4 hours, and those have been like 2-player games.
Oh my god!
I don't know if it's
turning on extra stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because I'm slow and who people I play with are slow. You'll have to let me know in the chat if. Okay, there we go. I called it early so many times. It's so long. Some Luck Dragon 1982 says that they love Anachrony, but they've called it early. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's just It's just such a satisfying game for me to play. I love all the inner working parts. I love the asymmetrical factions that you get. I love that this is one of the only games where taking loans makes sense. Kind of like Brass Birmingham. You want to take those loans, but even for Anachrony, you get points by taking loans and repaying those loans down the line by sending things back to your time traveling self.
Hey, they're not loans. You are getting stuff from the future that you then have to deliver.
That's true.
To
it's
yourself.
Definitely not just the loan.
No third party was ever involved.
It's true. Yeah. So that's what I really like about it is that everything feels so purposeful and everything feels specific. Yeah, Brass could have been another one but I'm not talking. It's not going to be on my top 3. Although it could be. Yeah, I'm thinking about all the games that I love playing.
I think the biggest thing about an Anachrony that I would certainly give a nod to too is, unlike a lot of games where, if you're going to be a long game, you really do have to feel like you're going on a journey. And the nice thing about Anachrony is it does have that goal. Okay, this is when the meteor strikes and the game and the world fundamentally changes, and we're spending all our time preparing for that, and now we have to deal with the aftermath of that, depending on how the game evolves. And so I think that helps with the with the length of the game too. Whereas a game where it's just like, oh, we're literally doing the same thing in hour 4 that we were doing in hour 1, and it's just, oh, we're now paying $5 instead of $2 for the action. That's a bit less compelling. So I think Anachrony is a good one. I would buy that for $1. In fact.
All right, you You ready for number 2, or are you
Yeah,
going to give a top
hit me with
3 as
another one.
well? Are we going to do dueling top 3s?
Well, so far, Ruel and I envisioned this as we would just like vehemently disagree and we'd have to debate. But so far, he and I are so freaking simpatico. It's kind of we used to have a segment where we would literally people would buy an argument from us, and it was the hardest thing to do. We just couldn't argue about anything, ultimately, except for ranking relative Star Wars things. That was about all we could disagree on. So I mean, so far, I mean, no, I'd like to argue against that, but it's a really freaking good suggestion. Not as good as Arc Nova, but follow it up. See if that was your one-hit wonder.
That's true. Here's something that I feel you might argue against. This is sort of a contentious pick. Not contentious, but I know people don't like it as much as I do. But a game that I will happily spend 4 hours playing any day of the week, anytime, is number 2 in terms of length, Rising Sun. Rising Sun, I love Rising Sun. It is so good, and I love it. And it can take that long because there's such a negotiation aspect to it. You're going to form alliances together at the beginning of the age, although that happens fairly quickly. But the battle mechanic is something that just really turns my crank. You have a hidden screen and you're bidding your coins on different advantages, and you're trying to read the opponent on how many coins they're bidding so you can bid just enough and just more than them. And the amount of shifting nature that can happen just based around that one system is making deals for later on down the turn, making deals for later on in the game where you're saying, okay, listen, I'll give you this province, you can win it outright, but then the next one, which is only you and I in a province, well, you make sure to bet all of your coins on that one, because then you can pay me back, and I'll let you win it as long as you bet all your coins.
But let me ask you, does this game benefit from its extreme length? I mean, what would a 90-minute... I mean, everything you just described, none of it seems like, oh, thank God I've got 3 hours of that rather than 90 minutes of that. Your Anachrony, again, it tells a story. It has a change. There's an evolution. And, I mean, I've never played Rising Sun, but you're fighting over the same stuff at the end that you were fighting at the beginning, right?
I think there is a real sense of evolution. There's a sense of how the alliances can shift throughout the game, because you make formal alliances at the beginning of each season, and you do that 3 times. And so it's either are our alliances staying together, or are they fragmenting? Who has betrayed who, and how? What are the repercussions of that down the line in this game? Right? It's not going to carry over into the next game because I did this big betrayal. It's I have to manage.
Except it will carry over to the next game, obviously.
Except it will. Yeah. Except it will. 100%. But it's how do I manage this betrayal, and how do I manage the political atmosphere of navigating the board, and how do I tech up on the board and get more and more figures for the end of the game, and show a real dominant strength in how I build up my powers over the course of it. I love it. It flies by for me. It's like perfect for my friend group, and we play it.
Well, let me make a counter point, seeing as how it did come up briefly in the last topic we're talking about. Keyflower is in my top 10 games of all time. And Keyflower is a beast of a game if you're going to play it at 4-player. And it's probably a 2-hour plus game just when Jen and I played, and we played it a bunch. And I think that game, I mean, the reason it's in my top 10 is not because of its length, but because it's got to have one of the, if not the most brilliant twists on worker placement, that it is a worker placement game where every one of your worker meeples is also the monetary unit that you bid to be able to build up your own little colony in the new world, in the Keydom universe that they create. And what really makes that game stand out for me and live up to its length is right from the beginning. The first thing you do is everybody ends up grabbing tiles and says, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to potentially be able to score at the end of the game. And I've got to be planning for this from the get-go, that I'm going to be able to really focus on this particular asset or that particular asset. But when we get to there's only 4, it's like 4 years, right? With each, or 4 seasons? It's the 4 seasons. When we get to that 4th season and I reveal, maybe I don't want to put this winter tile out, because it turns out Chris did a freaking much better job at that than me. But this is really my main thing. And, were you saving up the resources you needed to be able to pull that big ending off? I mean, to me, the end of that game, that final bid, when all those tiles come out from everybody, feels like the Euro equivalent of like a final boss fight in a video game, because I mean everything was building to this moment and everything is on the line, and I've been planning for this the entire, and then Chris took it. And so I think that is a game where I wouldn't want to play that as just a quick boom boom boom, we're done, one season, we're over. That I think it really benefits from that length, because you're throughout the whole game building towards that final act that is so impactful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's exactly that sense of progression, right? That you want. And again, I think Rising Sun for me provides that, seeing, because you're building little strongholds on the board, and your positioning on the board is developing over the course of it, and then you're also trying to figure out which provinces you haven't conquered yet, because that'll add to your final bonus as well, because you want to get one of each, basically collecting a full set to get a chunk of points, which often will be like at least 50% of your final score. I do love Keyflower, though. Keyflower is so fun. I love Keyflower at 2 because I can remember what you have behind your screen at 2.
Yeah.
More than 2, I cannot remember that.
Yep. You've still got a blue meeple there, don't you?
Yeah.
You're just waiting, aren't you? Until I get rid of my blues, and then you will snag this away from me. Yeah. Well, we neither of us convinced the other, so now we need a third one. I am literally making up rules for this segment on the fly.
All right, I'm excited for this third one. This is the epitome of long game. This, to me, is the Twilight Imperium killer, because it is 1/3 of the price, provides just as good of an epic experience on a smaller board, and that's just Dune. Regular Dune.
Oh, straight up Dune.
Straight up Dune, not Dune Imperium, not Dune anything,
not the
Dune.
Fantasy Flight retheme in the alternate sci-fi universe they ultimately made?
No, not that one. Just Dune with the big old sandworms. You have your circle on the board. You have your 6 different factions that can play. Each different faction adding something completely new. Playing this with like 5 to 6 people is so good, because all of the faction powers are at play. You have Atreides, who literally gets to look at every single card that anyone draws, write it down as to who has what, and has the knowledge for the rest of the game, and uses that knowledge as their playing piece. You have the Emperor, who literally gets every piece of money that people spend. you have the Bene Gesserit, who get to make a prediction at the very beginning of the game, what turn, there's only 10 rounds, what turn somebody will win and who will win the game, and if they predicted correctly, they win the game.
Wow.
It's such an incredible, epic experience. I have loved every play of that game. I feel like I could never play that game enough because of its length, right? You have to set aside that time. You have to set, like, we even called one of the games early. It was after like 6 hours, and we are like, okay, I think that alliance was going to win, and somebody wanted to go to bed because they had to work in the morning, and they didn't realize how long it would take. But even playing half of that game, it feels so monumental to me. The shifting nature and the tense struggling for ground.
Here's the thing.
I absolutely love it.
You have made me want to play that game now. So it wins. There we go. So that's it, folks. That's the top 3 of all time. Ark Nova, Dune, just straight Dune, and Anachrony. Yeah,
you're right. Rising Sun, Anachrony, and Dune.
Yep, that's what I heard. Ark Nova, and... Okay. Well, cool. Hey, folks, let's see. Did anybody ask for any more features at this point? No, nobody has. You have your notes, but apparently nobody else wants to hear from you. No trivia? No this or that? Come on, folks. You've got the points. Because we've got a little bit of time to kill, because we need to go until 2 when we are going to raid Ruel playing, what was it, Dickory Dock, right? So...
Yep, not the clocks.
Yep. Apparently, people only spend their coins on Ruel. Oh, wait, nope. There we go. Goblin came through, because Goblin knows both Ruel's and my favorite is a this or that.
Thanks, Goblin.
And you know how that works, right? We start throwing this or that's at each other until the audience does. Let's see. This. Hey, Chris. This or that. Funny. I am just going to get the ball rolling. Oh, dude, this one is for adults. Alrighty. Oh, but that one's kind of deep. Glass half empty or glass half full?
That's the this or that.
That's a this or that.
Always glass half full.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a positive guy.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, we're getting to know you. You see.
yeah. No, there's no point in it being half empty. You got half of a drink to drink. Let's
Wouldn't
be
you
real.
like to focus on how miserable you are, though, by seeing what you don't
No.
have as opposed to celebrating what you do?
No, if you got a glass half empty, you might as well have a full glass empty, and you might as well pour it out on the floor. That's what I think.
There you
You
go.
got your glass half full. You drink your drink. You take that last sip of eggnog, and you savor it. Savor the dregs of the eggnog that's always at the bottom of the. Oh no, I see. It's glass half empty. It's glass half empty.
Okay. Next up, robots or dinosaurs? And we're just
Oh,
doing a
that's
few I found on a list until the audience gets
Yeah,
to
yeah.
go.
Robots. Let's do robots.
Yeah. I want to say dinosaurs just to be different, but
I
no,
know.
robots are just implicitly better.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't really get the pop culture love for dinosaurs. As a little boy, I did not, obsess over dinosaurs.
they couldn't withstand the asteroid. You know who could? Robots.
Exactly. I think they will win 7 Ways to Sunday, even the final one. Okay, let's see here. Goblin asks, digital or analog timepiece?
Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna say analog, because I don't have a digital timepiece on my watch right now. But I I struggle. I struggle on the daily to make it work, and because I think you're so digital is so much easier to look at, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I like the look of the sort of regular clock rather than just taking the
You're
easy
not. It's
way
not
out.
just you're a closet hipster.
I'm not just a closet hipster, and it also might be because my girlfriend's given me a couple like really beautiful watches, and I want to wear them, and I want to like
Ah,
appreciate that gift, right? So it's been a shift. It's been a real shift of mind, but I like the look of it a little bit better. It feels a little bit more or classy.
I wish I could join you in that, and probably as a younger man I would have, since I always wore mechanical watches during all my years of working. The day I retired from the video game industry is the day I took off my watch and swore I would never wear a watch again, because that was, to me, the anchor around my neck. I was constantly beholden to that analog timepiece. But these days, life is too short. Digital, just because...
Because you want to know it.
I got
You wanna
enough
know it
struggles.
right there.
I don't need to introduce optional struggles to my life. Let's see
But
here.
it kind of mixes it up because then you never know if you're actually telling somebody the correct time.
That's
You
true.
know, you always get to live in a little bit of fear.
You
and
always
panic.
round off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's always either 3, 3:15, 3:30, 3:45, or 4. Nothing's ever 3:27 and a half.
See, I never do.
Yep.
I hate rounding off, which I should
Oh,
like
so then you
digital
make
then.
people... Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Just wait,
oh, no.
wait.
I make them wait.
6:22.
Make them wait for the goods. I wait until the second goes all the way around, and then I can tell them with absolutely certainty what the time is.
All right. Let's see. SailNet says, hat or no hat? You often wear hats in the hipster backwards style, I have noticed.
I do. Well, because it started because I started this channel during the pandemic, and so naturally my hair was that of the pandemic. And so in order to keep it out of my face, I would put a hat on. But if you put it forwards, that's bad for lighting. So I would put it backwards just for not lighting, and then I just wore it for a long time. And SailNet might know that I lost my favorite hat. I left it in an Olive Garden in Pennsylvania.
Oh no!
But they're holding it for me, and I will
Really?
be back to get it. Yeah, I called them up. It's my favorite hat because I got this hat. I'm gonna go with hat. I'm gonna go with
It
hat.
sounds like.
Because I gotta go with hat because I got this hat in when I did Little Shop of Horrors. Seymour had a hat, and it had a little S on it. It fits my head. I've got a really big head. Because I've got a gigantic ego and also physically.
Yes.
But so I lost this hat, and then luckily at an Olive Garden. But one of my patrons sent me a lovely hat from the Olive Garden. It was an Olive Garden branded hat. to replace the hat that I lost. So I like the hat. It might actually have been. It might have been. Yes, sailing it. He said me.
Yeah, there you go.
He set himself up. I wasn't sure if that was you or not, just because of the different names.
Yeah.
But I was fairly certain that that was you who sent it off. But yeah, so hat all the way. Hat all the way.
I should say hat because being over 50, this is starting to get really thin up here. And just, I tend to forget about it when I'm just looking at the camera, but anytime I happen to be filming myself and I have to reach really far forward, I'm like, oh, I don't need to see that. Nobody needs to see that. But I just can't stand them.
I think you have a luscious head of hair, Richard.
For a 52-year-old man, I think I'm doing okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, I've just never found them comfortable. I've never liked them, or sunglasses, or pretty much anything on my head. Earmuffs. I'm pro. I love.
You're pro earmuffs?
I'm pro the new fancy kind where you wrap them around your head like Lobot from Star Wars. I don't know why we didn't have those kinds of earmuffs as a kid. We had to have the Ralphie, piece of plastic thing that came over and didn't do anything, didn't keep any of the wind out. But now modern earmuff technology has come so far that I'm definitely big earmuff guy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Saturday or Sunday, says Duck of Death.
I gotta go with Saturday. Saturday feels like more of a break to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, the beginning of the week is looming, but Saturday you can justify relaxing, and I can justify relaxing, and then I get to Sunday and I go, oh no,
it's a day of dread.
Yeah, I haven't done my Monday video yet.
Yep,
Time to spend the hours filming it. So yeah, Saturday all the way.
I would agree as well. Plus Saturday morning cartoons. I don't know if you're old enough. I don't know if your generation had anything like Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Do generations now? Does Generation Alpha, do they get to enjoy Saturday morning cartoons? No, they don't because everything's on demand, right?
They get everyday morning cartoons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll never know what they're missing. So it's always going to be Saturday for me. And I'm sure it would be for Ruel as well, because we've talked about that in the past. Okay, puppies or kittens? We were promised a guest appearance by a certain kitten who has yet to arrive.
That's true. Artie is running. I have a cat, but I'm going to say puppies. Because puppies are much cuter, much well-behaved, and they give you kisses. Like, let's be real. Puppies beat kittens any day of the week. My girlfriend is looking at me very shocked with an expression of dread and anger from the doorway. But I'm going to stand with it. You got give me. What are you going to take? A bucket full of puppies or a bucket full of kittens? You're going to take a bucket full of puppies. They're just all going to be clamoring over each other. Kittens, they're mewing. Kittens are cute, but puppies are going to be more energetic and more likely to. You're going to be able to have fun with them.
I was totally unaware that that was the standard measuring unit in Canada for puppies and kittens is bucket.
Buckets. Yeah, bucket. Yeah.
Okay, wine or beer?
Wine or beer? Oh, she's going to throw Artie onto this.
There we go. Artie strikes back.
Artie strikes back.
And in the analytics, we'll be able to see that big spike on the time bar where everybody just comes and just watches this part over and over and over again.
True.
And Artie represents for all kittens everywhere. Nope, Artie has had enough of you. You are already on the kitty litter list.
Yeah, if he was a puppy, he'd probably stay.
Exactly. A puppy would have stuck around, wouldn't it? Puppy would have been happy to sit in your lap, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Artie can shake a paw though, so he's okay. He can stick around.
All right.
Yeah. Wine or beer? I'm gonna go with wine.
Okay.
Nope. I'm gonna go with beer. I meant to say beer and I just said wine, so I guess they're equal.
Because you wanted to be fancy.
I wanted to be fancy. Yeah, I'm more partial to a Scotch, I'd say, if I was to pick. So I'm gonna say Scotch.
All right. We'll allow an audible there. For me, none. I tried a beer when I was 5 years old. My dad handed it to me, and I thought it was so disgusting. I still remember just how, this is just vile. Why are you all sitting around drinking these things? And it has this weird aftertaste that's just horrible. And I haven't had one since. Yeah. And every time there's even the slightest bit of wine in any food preparation I ever have, it's all I can taste. And everybody's like, what? No, you can't taste this at all. I'm like, no, all I can taste is the alcohol in this because I'm a lifelong teetotaler because I come from a family of alcoholics and I'm the not one. So by choice, because I'm a weak-willed individual. And if I ever develop a taste for that, considering how addicted I am to ice cream, man, if I ever got a taste for any kind of thing that's genuinely addictive, it would be over.
Yeah. That's you and me both. I rarely drink, and I think that's why I would pick Scotch because I had to do a Scotch tasting for my work when I was working in a restaurant, and so I started to like develop the notes. I think there's kind of like a game to it almost, but yeah, I'll opt for other beverages over it because I feel I also have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who has a big shelf of board games behind them probably falls into that category.
I don't know what you're talking about. That anybody who would completely realign their entire professional life just so they could have more. Yeah. What could you possibly mean? I don't know.
No, of course
that's poppycock. Alrighty, last one, and this one's really for Ruel. Wherever you are, Ruel, Majawa wants to know the Star Wars prequels or the new trilogy.
Oh, that's tough. I'd like to pick and choose between the three.
Nope.
Between
three
all
of
the
one
three.
or three of the other.
3 of one, 3 of the other. I'm gonna go with new trilogy.
Wow! Jeez Louise!
I am gonna go with new trilogy. I gotta give a shout out to Call to the New to balance out all of my.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Dutch Blitz.
For Dutch Blitz.
You want to show your finger somewhat on the pulse, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I need to. I mean, as much as I do love the quote, "Your sand is rough, not like your skin. It's all nice and smooth." That Anakin says.
Wow, you totally nailed that reading.
Thank you.
I can see why you're a professional actor. That's impressive.
I have it on my wall. That exact quote, so I know I can never screw that up. Yeah, as much as that scene really makes me want to choose the prequels, I really liked Force Awakens. I liked number 7. And I didn't really like number 8, and then number 9 was, it was fine.
Well, number 8 is literally the best thing Star Trek has ever produced, period. Hands down, bar
Star
none,
Trek?
by far. The Last Jedi is the greatest thing, and the second greatest thing would be Andor. But the third best thing would be the prequels. They are by far the most ambitious in terms of any of the feature films. They are actually trying to say something. They actually have, levels of meaning. And yes, it is a real shame that Lawrence Kasdan didn't come back to actually write the scripts, because Lawrence Kasdan would have written a different sand line. He probably wouldn't even refer to sand at all.
I really love the sequence of Execute Order 66 in Revenge of the Sith. I found that was like chilling. I remember like getting goosebumps in that. I was like, ooh, you can really like that payoff is really good. You like Last Jedi? Last Jedi felt like a TV show to me. It felt like a bottle episode.
We could do an hour on that, but we will not. We will end it there.
We have to move on.
Yes, exactly. But if anybody wants me, I've got a 13-page thread at guild.rahdo.com extolling the virtues of The Last Jedi, taking on any and all nitpickers to definitively prove once and for all it is the best, most well-considered, most dramatically satisfying of all the Star Wars. And that's it, folks. We are done with This or That. Everybody, give a big round of applause for Chris George. Yay! That went pretty well.
That was fun.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so, and I'm sorry, I see some more questions were coming in, but that will have to wait for another day, because it is now time to actually it's time to battle to the death, which, wow, I feel really weird not doing it with Ruel, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I'll battle to the death with you.
Yeah, the Battle Royale. You can't see the little icons well enough to actually do the color commentary, can you? In Discord?
Maybe not.
Okay, then I will do so as everybody, throws down for 100 customizable coins. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Firewind, for subscribing, Flying Dutch Rocker, Mr. Boom, RRSP James, and Denoga, and Sea Otter, and Duck of Death, and okay. They're all down there. They're fighting to the death right now, and I forgot to put it on screen, full screen, so I can see. Wow, we got a big turnout. Nobody's going for me. I'm taking out RSP James. Or at least I tried to, but then I ran screaming when Corthane came for me. And I think hey, Ruel Gaviola is in the scrum, and he has been eliminated. So I guess he's probably still in the process of getting ready for his dickery. But I took him out, and then somebody took me out, and the crowd is thinning. Andrew Scott, Room&Board Reviews is currently the odds-on favorite to win. That big, bushy, beautiful beard of yours throws down with the pleasure of Andrew Scott. You are running, screaming from Andrew as a common.
Andrew
oh
Scott,
no!
I've
Does
never
Andrew?
liked
Oh,
that
Andrew
name.
misses the health pack. You throw down. You finish AJ Fox. Andrew really has it in for you. You turn and take out Andrew.
Take him. Let's go.
You go
Let's
for
go,
the health
everybody.
pack.
Give me that health pack.
And then Cassandra Miller, who's been here since day one.
Having people in the back. That's the way. That's the way Room&Board Reviews.
But no, I think Cassandra turns and fights, and you should run and scream now. But no. Oh my! No! Nope, Cassandra got you.
Oh! Oh! I thought I had it.
That would have been very impressive.
I really thought I had it. That's such a shame. But great job, Cassandra.
Yes, congratulations, Cassandra, for representing the R&R show. Old school R&R. Rahdo and Ruel, not Rahdo and Room&Board. Which actually works. I don't know why that didn't occur to me. The same thing happened the one other time that Ruel couldn't make it. Shay from RTFM stepped in, and it wasn't until he pointed out to me, my channel starts with a freaking R. What is wrong with you? Live in front of everybody, that I realized, oh, I really don't know what I'm doing, and I should not be in charge. Clearly.
I think you set it up that way. You're just being humble. You're letting the guests take the glory. You're giving us the spotlight, and I appreciate it.
Well, enjoy. Okay, folks. So now, let's see. Ruel will be back next week, and we're doing our standard end of the month sponsored fun again thing, and we'll be doing the contest giveaway for the LED. Oh, I love this LED thing so much. Have you seen this, Chris?
Oh yeah, with the
LED all around side, or the really cool box they did successfully fund. So yay, they will actually have them to give away. So folks, you still have one more week to go back and watch Ruel's and my top 10 games we're thankful for. To see who wins. But otherwise, yeah. So you know the show. We're gonna do the intro. We're gonna do the top 10. We will introduce the people who actually watch the R&R tomorrow on YouTube or listen to it on the podcast stream or whatever. So we'll introduce you again. Say Ruel couldn't be here, but he sent his top men, as it were. What is that a quote from? Top men. Well, that's gonna drive me nuts. I don't know what that's from.
I would assume it's Top Gun.
Nope. It hardly matters. It's neither here nor there. If Kabuki Kid were here, she'd be able to. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Top men. Thank you, Travis, for stepping in for Kabuki, who has all the old octogenarian pop culture references, at the right off the top of her head. Okay, top men. Yes, of course, Raiders. Of course. I've been saying that my whole life. I don't know where I got that from. Anyway, so what do we got here? What men? Top men. All right. So I think I've got the box cover, right? Yep. I did not have time to replace Ruel with pictures of Chris, which would have been nice.
What are you talking about? That's me,
shocking. Yes. If you only hadn't shaved, and if you put your glasses on, and you get your fedora out, I think it would work beautifully. Quick, go get a disguise. Put on your Ruel disguise with your beard and glasses and fedora. Right, so we got that, and right. Oh, hold on a second. Let me make sure the browser. Oh, you left! Oh my gosh, he is actually going and getting a Ruel disguise.
No, I was seeing if I had it handy, but it's not.
You do not. You left it in your other trousers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I need to make sure the Chrome hasn't crashed. Yep, there it is. All right, so that's number 10. Paste it in, waiting to hear. You'll do 10, I'll do 1. Right. So hey, everybody, this week's episode of R&R is brought to you by you. Thank you for supporting the show. And thank you, Chris, for stepping in for blah, blah. Yeah, that'll work. And then we just do the top 10. Normally, Ruel does all his own stuff, but you, of course, do not. So when you tell me what your game is, I will have to very quickly type it in and then very quickly switch over. But that's okay. It'll just be a little bit slower. I mean, we tend to mess things up anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. And you do have, right, because we're going to, my top 5 and your top 5, and then you have your remainder ready for the post show, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited about those as well.
I am very interested to see what you came up with. I feel like I could have guessed Ruel's pretty easily. But with your whole, I'm interested to see how much you went down how much you stayed true to your ideals, what the value proposition of your entries are, as opposed to did you give in to FOMO and throw some plastic monstrosities, which you have admitted freely you feel the pull of from time to time.
I do. Well, Rising Sun's got a bunch of plastic
Yes,
monsters.
it
Rising
does.
Sun was my first Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh,
got me
really?
on the Kickstarter train. Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, cool. Okay, then we are ready to go. Let me just get one more drink of water. Put the reminder up on screen. Okay, folks, so while we're filming this, we're just going to be back and forth. You can be the audience. Let me come back to me. If you have any questions, if you think, what, that's ridiculous, or what about X, Y, or Z, by all means, give questions to us, but start your questions with a question mark. That means they go into a special queue, so we won't miss them. And we'll do, we'll talk about our just missed it, our also rans, and then we'll do some Q&A, and then we'll raid Ruel, and it'll be a good old time. Okay, so you're ready, Chris.
I'm ready.
Okay, then one more drink of water. Okay. Oh, and hey, by the way, you've had no internet outages, have you, the whole time?
No, I think we've been okay. That's good.
Why did I even draw attention to that? That was idiotic.
Well, it's certain to happen now.
Exactly. Should have just left well enough alone. But if there is a glitch, I'll edit it out after, and we can say, right, okay, now that Chris has rejoined us, thanks to his internet service provider, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. We are set. Folks, are you ready to go? Then let's do this to this. Hey everybody, this week's episode of the R&R Show is brought to you by you fine folks. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and also thank you so much for Chris George for showing up this week. Ruel could not make it for, what are we at, episode 56 of the R&R Show. So instead of this week being Rahdo and Ruel, it's Rahdo and Room and Board. Chris George, say hi to the nice people. Tell us about yourself.
Everybody, thanks so much for having me on. I am really excited to do this top 10 because every Monday on my channel, Room and Board, which is at Room and Board Reviews, I look at everything leaving Kickstarter that week.
Yes.
And Kickstarter, GameFound, Backer Kit, Mom and Dad Give Me Money for My Startup.com, any of those lucrative sites I take a look at, and it was fun to look through the entire year and see which ones jumped out at me and then try to rank them. So I'm really excited to be on this stream in particular, and I can't wait to see what you have as your picks.
Yeah, and me, you. I mean, because I am a huge fan. Folks, there's a link for Chris's channel down in the show notes. I highly recommend subscribing if you're at all interested in crowdfunded games, because like week in, week out, you are there doing deep dives, deeper than anybody, except for maybe me. I like to think I also spend a lot of time reading rule books and learning how the game actually plays, rather than just commenting on the box art or how many miniatures. I mean, so you really dig dive and really give a lot of detail about the gameplay and why it stands out. But then also you focus a lot on the value too. Are people getting their money's worth? Is shipping too much? And so I think between your humor and your breadth of knowledge and your willingness to really look below the surface, I think it's a fantastic show. Plus, if that's not enough, folks, you also want to subscribe because you occasionally do top 5 reasons not to back, which I know is by far your biggest series, I think, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely my biggest series. Anytime a game raises over $1 million on Kickstarter, I feel the pull as Chris saying, "Mo, you need this game. You desperately need this game. It's the best game in the world.
Yes.
If you don't have this game on your shelf, you don't even deserve to be called a board gamer." And so these videos are a way for me to help talk myself down and do kind of a deep dive into the rules, as long as they have them there. Do a deep dive into the mechanics and think about the logistics of how many times will that game get played? Will it replace existing games? Those sorts of questions. I always like to start it off with what I am excited about before I tear that excitement away from people. They're by far the biggest hit, and it's surprising to me that people keep on asking for them. Anytime something crosses, I'll get a message and say, "Hey, I'm excited to see the 5 reasons why I shouldn't back this thing," because I think in the YouTube space, it's easy to get excited. We're all excited about games, right? We love talking about games. We love this hobby. That's why we do this thing. So I tried to do my best to be the devil's advocate and pump the brakes a little bit on that excitement, so we can make sure that it's not the marketing getting us to back it, but it is actually our excitement game that gets us back.
Yeah,
Because we want to have cool stuff, but we want to have stuff that you're equally excited when it arrives at your door, and you don't go, oh shoot, why did I back this again? Right? Then that to me it means, and I've had both of those things happen, and I know I've fallen for the trap numerous times of backing things and then getting it and going, oh yeah, maybe I didn't look into this enough, or maybe I wasn't excited enough to purchase it, because it doesn't end up getting to the table.
Folks, I am an excitable guy. I get really excited about a lot of stuff. Chris is the antidote to that. He is the anti-FOMO. There's his channel right down there, and you're going to get a little taste of it because, folks, we are about to talk about our combined top 10 crowdfunded games of 2022. Games that were seeking funding on Kickstarter, on GameFound, and maybe on BackerKit. They're a little late to the party, but we'll see what you've got in mind. And I can't wait to see what Chris is going to do because of his very specific focus. I know what mine are. Chris, are you ready to go? Do you have your number 10, or I should say our number 10 in the queue?
Our number 10, I do have it ready. I think you have a link there and can bring it up, but
I am prepared.
So my number 10 should be. I'm scared to say it in case the links are out of order, but I don't think they are. My number 10 is Raw.
The anniversary edition, right?
Raw. The anniversary edition of Raw, reprinted by 25th Century Games.
Okay, let's bring that up.
Let's bring it up.
Let's is a good starting choice. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Raw is a pure, there it is. Raw is a pure auction game. That's it, right? On your turn, you're gonna either draw a tile from the bag and add it to the row of things that people can bid on, or you're going to say Raw and chant Raw, Raw, Raw. Grab that big old statue right there, put it in front of yourself, and then everyone gets to make one bid with those little sundials that you see on the table.
Yep.
And if you invoke Raw, the key is you get to go last in the bidding, which is huge when everybody's only making one bid. In addition to that, you're also bidding on that number in the center. Oh, it's like I planned this with this slideshow.
You're a professional, sir. Well done. Smooth as silk until you brought it all crashing to a halt to explain how good you are.
Well, I like to pat myself on the back. Pretty much consistently, but yeah, you're bidding on that tile in the center, which you will get to use for subsequent round. There's 3 epochs, and you're going to go through all 3. And I love that this came back. I know this was out of print for a long time. It's not necessarily that I was really excited about the deluxe edition, because they had a retail edition for I think $40 and a deluxe for $80. It's not that I was like clamoring to get this deluxe edition where all the tiles were wood instead of cardboard, but I'm just so thrilled because I've seen it. I get a lot of my games on the secondary market, and I've seen it hit that out of print status. And you have an out of print Rainer Knizia, who's a well-known designer. It makes people feel like they need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to acquire this jewel that's not in their collection. Yep. And so by this coming back at what I think is a really affordable price, was very exciting to me. I didn't end up pulling the trigger on this because I know it's going to go to retail, right? If you're backing at this level, it was more to get that deluxe edition with the wood and the extra metal victory point tokens, and really just deluxifying your experience. And I'm thrilled that exists for people who want that. For me, the retail edition would be completely fine. And I'm excited to add this to my collection. I almost brought a copy of this home with me from the World Series of Board Gaming because we had some extra copies there. For those who don't know, I've done some work for the World Series of Board Gaming as well, and it's one of the games. But I couldn't fit into my suitcase, and I couldn't justify bringing it home because I had to bring home other games that I didn't have that had cards. So if I was doing post-production work on them and taking shots of the cards, I needed the actual cards that I could then put on the screen. Yeah. And there weren't any elements that I could really justify to myself other than I want it in my collection. But I'm thrilled that this is back. I'm thrilled that this is back at a great price point, and this edition looks really gorgeous.
It's never looked better. I mean, it now looks as good as it has always played, going all the way back. It's an excellent choice. I agree, and so far, so good. You are definitely having an excellent showing. The only reason this wouldn't have made my personal list is because one of the things, which we didn't talk about much about our restrictions, but I restricted myself to only talking about completely new games. I mean, there were actually quite a few two really beautiful recreations, reproductions of some older games. I mean, heck, this wasn't even the only Reiner Knizia that came out this year. Amun-Re also got a beautiful deluxe treatment also. But I was just trying to focus on completely new stuff. But yeah, this would totally make my list. One of the greatest auction games of all time. Even works well with 2, even if originally it wasn't supposed to. And I don't think you mentioned this. For me, the thing that really makes it stand out is, hey, when I'm making my bid, I can see everybody else's chips. I know exactly what everybody else can do. Oh, the best you've got is a 3. So if I bid with this 4, but you can still do it. But you don't want this. I can see what you're going for. So deep, so meaty. It's a brilliant game and wonderful. And you're right. It's so good that people have, I mean, that it looks nice and modern. It doesn't look old and dusty, because it's a 20-year-old game. But it plays as good as anything that just came out. Good call, sir. All right. Well, let's move on to number 9, which actually, I'm just now saying that out loud. I'm realizing I am breaking my own rule that I just set down for myself, because number 9 on the list is the Paradox Initiative, which is a reprint of an earlier game called Paradox. And oh my gosh, it didn't even occur to me till just now, but I loved it so much. Actually, I should say, when I was making my list of my 5s, numbers 9, 7, 5, 3, and 1, I was thinking about, which ones did Jen and I play, because when we covered them for the channel, and which ones did really sit out for my wife as much as me. And geez Louise, she loved this game so much. She almost gave this a 5 out of 5, which is very rare for her. And for folks who don't know anything about it, hey, you can late pledge now. This is basically a board game equivalent of, I don't know, Gemblow, or, pick your matching gems video game. I mean, or go back to classic stuff like Dr. Mario and whatnot. It turns that into board game form, but adds this really cool sci-fi epic resource management game, because you're trying to collect all the stuff so that you can draft gorgeous cards. This game, one of the big things about it is they had a murderer's row of artists, some of the best, hottest, most well-loved artists in the industry, all of them producing new original art to represent all the different planets that we as scientists are studying all around the galaxy, trying to do card set collection, but driven by a very sharp and fun little puzzly game as you're just trying to move your little colorful gems around to get rows, 3 or 4 or 5 of a kind in a row, so they'll explode, yay, and create the cascade stuff and let you pick up things. It's a really simple, straightforward game. It's got a really gorgeous production, and again, I mean, some of my favorite artists of all time worked on this. Although even if you didn't get the deluxe edition, you're still going to get a really sharp game. We covered this a million years ago when it was just called Paradox, and it looked okay. But much like the one you just mentioned, Raw, it really stands out now. And I'm looking for a video of it, but there's no video because I generally don't go back and look at pages after they're done. But just look at this art. The art is great, but the gameplay is what really sold it to me all those years ago. And I'm really embarrassed that I completely broke my own rule with the very first entry, number 9, Paradox Initiative.
That's funny. Yeah, I remember the Paradox Initiative when it came out. I think I didn't play it, but I felt a little bit underwhelmed by the sort of Candy Crush nature of the choice.
Candy Crush, that's a good reference. That's finger on the pulse, topical Dr. Mario. Kids haven't heard of that. Candy Crush, yes.
No, Dr. Mario should be the reference. But I remember really enjoying the art. I like how the worlds flip too when there are those
when they've been hit by the roving black hole thing. Yeah.
I liked having to manage that. I remember that standing out to me too.
Yeah.
But I think for my personal, I'm glad that it was such a hit though.
Yeah.
I tend to lean towards again, like we were talking about in the pre-show, a little bit of the longer games.
Yeah.
And so I this one didn't pull me in because I was like, oh, okay, I see the gimmick and I don't know how long that would last for me personally.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, then tell us about number 8 then, and why that's even better.
Well, number 8 is a campaign that I am really, really thrilled to talk about.
Okay.
I had to include it in the top half so that I could talk about. It is this probably one of the more obscure games out there.
All right.
I like these obscure games. I'm pulling up my Word document to make sure I get the exact name of it right because the names are always weird. It's by this designer, Bez, and they actually put out a 4-pack of games. It was this Kickstarter, but the game that I am most excited about is called A Game About Cute Comical Creatures and Trying to Identify Them After Someone Makes Noises.
creatures and someone trying to identify them. What?
After someone makes noises. The title of the game.
After someone makes noises. That does not fit at the bottom of the screen. That will have to do, folks.
That will
Let me
have
go
to
ahead
do.
and pull up this page. Wow,
It
I
is
completely
the
missed
sequel
this
to
one.
a game.
Okay.
It is a sequel to a game called We Whimsical Creatures and trying to identify them after someone makes a noise. Uh, yeah, I think it's like the third one scrolling down. So there's 4 games in this
Okay.
package. Bez puts out these small card games, and they've only been print and plays generally, unless you live in the UK, because it's a small operation.
Yes.
They're just doing it on their own and mailing it out. And so I got the print and play of We Whimsical Creatures, and it's just going
this the one?
down. No, go down further.
going, okay.
Keep going. That's the one right there. That's the picture I want to see.
All right.
The whole premise of this game is that it's kind of like Dixit with screaming. where you have these creatures that are out on a board, and someone is going to be sort of the clue giver, and they're going to make a sound of what they think this creature would sound
okay.
like. And then everybody is going to vote on what creature they think they were trying to make the sound for. That's it for the game. You get points, whatever. The scoring doesn't matter to me whatsoever.
Right.
It's
much like Dixit.
Much like Dixit, exactly. It's the absolute silliness that this game can provide. And so in this campaign, there was finally they finally opened up shipping to everyone. So I was like, yes, I want to get a printed copy sent to me versus my print and play one that that is not in good card quality. I want a nice card quality that I can pull out because I think this is just so funny. It's my favorite type of dumb humor in which you're just sitting around a table just being silly. It's what I think would be an incredible icebreaker of getting people out of their shells. I don't think it would be for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have people who are willing to go to that level, but I think it just takes one person around the table to really break the level of what it can be and give permission for the group to be silly and to laugh and just to make funny voices with each other. I just think it's such a fun little game. And when I did my top 5 Kickstarters of 2021,
Yeah.
We Whimsical Creatures, I think it might have been number 1. I forget what it was. I just love the concept so much, and I love that I was able to actually get a printed copy for myself, and that will enable me to really bring it to more places rather than pulling out my own print and play and saying, no, trust me, this is really fun. It's better to have like a deck of cards and be like, trust me, here we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think it's such a funny concept, and I like all the other games that they.
I was
going
going
to
say the other 3 games were also standouts.
Yeah, they didn't stand out as much for me. There was another game that I backed last year that was a game about frantically grabbing beetroots that gets harder and harder. I think was the title, something along those lines. Which was like a speed matching game, which kind of reminded me a bit of a favorite of mine, Dutch Blitz, and so that was a really fun one. And I didn't look too much into the other 3 because honestly I wanted to spend all my time talking about a game about cute comical creatures and trying to identify them after someone makes noises.
Yep. Well, folks, if you want to find out more about that, apparently this whole thing was called Games About Stuff. We could have just called it that. Our number 8 entry, Games About Stuff from Bez. Links for this and everything are going to be down in the show notes. I have to admit, I mean, as somebody who's played a lot of Dixit at parties with social gatherings, that's just such a cute, simple, perfect idea. I can imagine, here's the 4, and I make that sound. That's and I played some of Bez's other games, and very, very sharp. Nice. Really flying under the radar. A wonderful entry. I love it a lot. Wow, that is cool. See, folks, this is why you want to go subscribe to this man's channel, because you would have heard about this months ago, and you wouldn't have missed it. But maybe there's still a chance. Follow the link down in the show notes for number 8, a game about cute, comical creatures and someone trying to identifying after someone makes noises. Okay. Cool.
A great title, well typed in a very short amount of time.
Yep, you won't bring it out of your pocket unless somebody can actually name it correctly at the party. What is it?
That's true.
You say it, you know what it is. Okay, cool. Well, let's move on then to number 7 on the list. A much shorter title, Delta. Delta. Nice and easy for me to type in, much less likely to make typos. Thank you so very much for that. And this is another one that just ranked so high for my wife especially, and for me as well. This is a fairly crunchy deck builder where we are in a steampunk universe trying to explore. Oh, there's a play on this one. Good. Okay. I will put that on screen, and I will make it bigger, and I will make it bigger, bigger, bigger. There we go. Okay. Are you playing? There you go. There you're playing. Okay. A game where we are deck building, and the thing is, all the cards we're getting into our deck are multi-use. They represent different members of our expedition party who are either hanging out in the workshop trying to make inventions, going to the university to gather knowledge, or actually going out in the field either on foot or in hot air balloons. And depending on what card you play at a given round and where you send it means the cards will do different things because different characters have different specialties. But they also have different initiatives, which has to do with speed. This is a game all about kind of like almost a Gloomhaven vibe. Who is going to go first? Because when I play a card to the university, because I want to, study the mating practices of the rhinoceros or whatever it would be, I'm also trying to figure out, am I going to try and go fast or slow? Because whoever has the best initiative gets first dibs on the cards at the top of the area that will go into our deck and determines what we get to do next turn. So you already have multi-use with these cards, trying to figure out where is best to play them to get the most effect. But also, when you get that initiative, because there will always be cards, okay, I don't care about those ones. I desperately have to have that one. But my fastest card that can ensure I get that one into my deck does nothing in that region. It's a total waste. So what am I actually going to focus on? What is going to be my priority? This game really makes you think long and hard. And plus, I also love, they don't really talk it up very much, but I show it in the run-through we did. Let's see. I don't know if there'd be a way to show it. There's just the game in all its glory. You don't, after you've played your cards, they don't come right into your discard pile like a normal deck builder. They instead go into a queue, very much like Alexander Pfister's Mombasa or Blackout Hong Kong or Sky Mines, his new reprint. And so that means where you're placing your cards determines what are you going to do, how good is your character going to be at it, what is going to be your speed with which you can build to get cards you want in the future, and also what silo is your card going to come in, because you only get to collect cards from one silo every round. So if you play a card, you might not see it for quite a while. And all of those things with every single card play adds so much to the proceedings that both Jen and I were really blown away by it. Number 8 on the list, Delta. Okay. And I don't know, I'm sure this is probably not one you played, but you probably looked at it. What was your prognosis?
I like this as a pick. I'm thrilled that you had such a good time with it. I really like the multi-use cards, and I really like the 3 different areas. The fact that there are sort of 3 decisions, 3 spots that you can choose where to apply your people. I think that makes for not too overwhelming a decision space, right?
Right.
I think you don't want that overwhelming of all these different locations. I feel with a lot of like Euro games, people add more and more and more and more and more spots because they're like, oh, there's a rondel over here and a thing to do over here. But this one to me felt really streamlined, and I really like the manner of the cards as well.
Yeah, you really do get a sense of purpose and direction. But then the hard thing is, clearly the best use for this card, what is best for this card is not best for me right now. And when I play it, am I going to make the card happy or am I going to make me happy? Which is not a consideration I normally have. I don't tend to anthropomorphize my cards as much as I did in this game. And are really, really sharp. But what would be our number 6 on the list, sir?
Number 6.
Hopefully a shorter title, because I'm having to type them all.
A shorter title. It's only 7 letters.
Okay.
It's only 7 letters. Sorry. Alexa, stop. My Alexa was starting to play. It must have heard me say something and then started to play. Alexa, stop.
Fortunately, I'm in an ear, so you're not waking mine up with every one of those commands.
Okay, perfect. My number 6 is a game that was on GameFound.
Okay.
Plays 1 to 2 players, and that's Robomon.
Oh, right. Yes.
Robomon.
Wow. It's like Ruel is here in person, because Ruel covered this one for the channel.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my shout out to Ruel. I knew it. Shout out to the R&R. It's now the R&R.
There you go.
Right here. I was so charmed by this campaign. That's the creator right there, and that video is just a big unboxing
Yeah.
of going through the prototype and all the different things that you have. It is Pokemon, but with robots,
Yes.
and it says it's a 1 to 2 player game. I think it's probably more just a 1 player game,
Yeah.
where you're going to go on your own journey. And I'm not really a solo player. I like games specifically to play with other people. And if I'm by myself, I might veer more towards like digital
Mhm.
implementations of stuff. But this one just was so charming to me. It really captured me. I love that. I love that there's a bunch of puzzles throughout the game. You get a 4-digit code that you can then look up in a book, and you can see, oh, that's I've solved the clue. Or if you don't solve the clue, then you don't. I love that in each different map, there's a little QR code on the side that you can scan, and you can get music that suits the location that you're in. And then there's a
Yes.
bunch of
Mhm.
different areas that you can visit and
Perfectly
encounter.
realized video game music that sounds right
Yeah.
out of Pokemon on a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, it's just so good. Yeah, because they gave examples of it obviously in the campaign page,
Yeah.
because you have to lead with that, because it's great. It builds to this world. I love their storage system is thought out too. They have all of the Robomon chips face down in like a dual layer storage system that you can lift out and access pretty easily based around their number. And if you have any nostalgia towards Pokemon, which I absolutely do, I have
Mhm.
the poster of the 150 Pokemon from my childhood in my bathroom right now.
Because of course that's where you put it, obviously.
Because of course, so everybody can pick their favorites when they're doing their business. They got 150 friends that can cheer them on no matter the situation. But yeah, it really tugged at my nostalgia, and I think what really made this one stand out amongst the slew of narrative campaign games that exist out there, was that it is such a unique theme, unique art style, and the clear passion
Yeah.
behind this project. You can see it in the videos, you can see the enthusiasm, you can read it in the script. There's a comic book that you get to go on, that's what teaches you the game. They're like the game will teach it to you as you go along. There's no need to read a rule book to start. So I read the rules reference to see
Right,
the
right,
different
right. Yeah.
little mechanics, right? But it just feels so realized and so thoughtful. It feels like a really thoughtful game. And even though I'm not a solo player, this makes me want to become one, because
Mm.
it is so nice.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's my number 6. I wanted to give it a shout out because it's just such a fun world and just such a fun sandbox.
Yep, yeah, you done right by Ruel. I mean, there's his quote for it. He absolutely adored it, and I think you're right. I mean, the number one, the two active words, charm and nostalgia,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
delivers on both of those in spades. It seems so absolutely lovely. Good call, good call. Alrighty, well, let's move on then to number 5, another smaller game. I think actually this is physically maybe the smallest game that I identified. I've got some big heavy ones coming too, but also this is the newest one. This one I think only just ended its run maybe last week or the week before, but I fell in love with it, as did it seems almost the entirety of the board game media space, except for maybe you, Chris. Have you played Shake That City?
I haven't played Shake That City, but I've looked at it intensely. I'm excited that you loved it so much that it forced its way on the list. I
Oh,
think it's
I
a good
loved
price
it,
point.
as did my wife. And really, at the heart of it, this is a pretty straightforward, pretty simple to play. Are you going to play there, buddy? There you go. SimCity style board game. We've had a lot of these over the years, and it's actually something I tend to really enjoy. And the SimCity part is really simple. A lot of times these have the suburbia vibe of, oh, if I put this next to this, I've got to put these other two things over here. This is a much more straightforward gateway friendly game, because all you're trying to do is make sure you get big groups of the same types of things with some simple rules. Like homes want to be on the beach. Businesses want to be on the road. Stuff like that. Really simple rules. But what makes this game so special is the selection mechanism. You have this really cool shaker, which is just a brilliant piece of like cardboard engineering, where every turn you shake it up, push a little plunger, and a randomly created grid of 3x3 cubes comes out. And it's a bingo style game in that everybody gets to pick. Well, the lead player gets to first pick, chooses one color, and then everybody else picks from the remaining colors that are there, trying to fill up their space as best they can. This is from AEG, who were incredibly successful with Tiny Towns, and a lot of people draw parallels between this and Tiny Towns. But this one is much, much lighter. It's a simple, streamlined, straightforward game. It's literally a filler. Jen and I could play this game in 15 or 20 minutes from start to finish, and would just play it again and again and again. There's a little bit of variability because you can set up different, there's like little mini modules. I believe there was actually another mini module that was available if you backed it. But every time you play, just the randomization of the cards. Am I going to build this particular shape of red or this particular shape of blue? Or, oh my God, more often than not, I don't want to build any of these things. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because, like Tiny Towns, you have a very, very tiny space to build in and a really interesting restricted puzzle. Every round is an interesting puzzle. Do I take the nice, simple, safe thing, or do I risk big, hoping I'll get what I need later when it's my turn to be first and I get first dibs? Everything about this game is great, but really, the core central conceit, the gimmick of the shaker just never gets old. To me, this is the best physical board game gimmick the industry has seen since the Gears and Zulk and the Mayan calendar. And while that was a big, heavy, crunchy, mega game, this is a fun, simple little game you can teach anybody to play in 20 minutes, and I guarantee they'll want to play again. And everybody will fight to be who gets the one to actually shake the city, which is why it comes in at number 5.
Yeah, well, I obviously made the comparison between it and Tiny Towns, but I think what you said is right on the money, that Tiny Towns is definitely meaner.
Tiny Towns is definitely, depending on how you play, there's different modes. But yeah, Tiny Towns can be played at expert level, which is how Jen and I play, where it's not a random choice, but we choose what Town's going to be. Oh, it'd be a really bad time for you to get some glass, wouldn't it? And it doesn't hurt me. Yep, hey, what do you know? It's glass this turn. Here, the game is mean to you, and it's a pretty much an equal opportunity, mean to everybody kind of situation. But the big thing is Tiny Towns is more complex because all the different buildings you can have a lot of actually, it's a more gamery type game, whereas this is simple, easy to teach. I could certainly teach this to my in-laws and they would not have a hard time, and everybody would just be so entranced and enchanted by that shaker. But, they come for the shaker, but you stay for the fun, puzzly gameplay that you just get in and out in 15, 20 minutes and you just have a fantastic time.
Yeah, I really like AEG. I remember looking at this campaign. I also think the price on this campaign is pretty decent too.
Yeah.
You get that little Wild Nights expansion.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, cubes, which are an extra type of a wild cube that you can throw into the mix. Yeah.
Yeah, and so having that, which is going to be sold, it kind of offsets the shipping. That's what I always look for in Kickstarters. Like if the stretch goals will offset the shipping. I think this one looks fun. For me, this one I would contemplate picking up at retail because I know AEG also has.
It'll be there. Yeah.
It's going to be there. It's not a worry that it's not going to get that sort of wider distribution as some of the other Kickstarters might be.
Yep.
And so whenever I see that, it's like, okay, well, do I want to pay for the shipping now and get those extra things, or would I be fine without it? And I was like, I'd probably be fine without it, but it's definitely something that
Folks,
I think.
This is the kind of analysis you get on Room and Board. Again, links for it down in the show notes. If you pay attention, if you came to this video, obviously you care about crowdfunding games, and if you pay attention to that world at all, you have to see his weekly analysis going deeper than anybody else I've seen, myself included, with my own crowdfunding show. Good observations all. What's number 4?
Number 4. I'm so excited. I'm getting excited. Every time we climb to it, feels even more monumental. My number 4 is a game that I actually did get to try when I was at Origins. Yes. That's probably why it moved up so far.
Oh, so you have played it? Okay, yeah.
I have played it. It's by Mind Clash Games. And that is
the Witch one, right?
That's exactly it. The Witch one, Septima.
Gotcha. Okay.
A blast. I mean, I'm really becoming a fan of Mind Clash, and I was expecting this to be overly complicated like I find a lot of their titles are.
Yes.
They really go for that crunch, right? With Septima, it's not overly complicated. I think it's going to be really easy for people to pick up, and it's in a theme that I don't want to say isn't done, because there's a lot of witchy themes, right? There's a lot of like spooky, scary themes, But this one again is really charming. You have simultaneous action selection, and you all pick a card. But if you pick the same card as somebody else, you all get to do a bonus move. But the town takes notice because you're being overtly witchy, and they get a little bit spooked about it. And so you go through, and you're going to be adding to your own little coven as you play the game. There's going to be a witch trial every round, and you're going to try to put your own supporters into that trial area and
Right.
stamp out the bigotry because of the people who don't like magic. Your witches, your sole purpose is to cure the town, and yet the town is fighting back against you. You're still as altruistic as possible, as you're going to move around this board and get different resources, and the different resources that you can get depend upon the cycle of the moon as well. So there's a lot of like little nice tweaks, all that kind of build up to be something really satisfying. It was a lot of fun to test out at Origins. This is one, again, for me that I think those who back the deluxe edition, which is the only edition that they're offering on Kickstarter, will be happy that they did, because they've got game trays, they've got silkscreen meeples, they've got a bunch of nice deluxifications, and they've got a small little expansion. For me, I think, again, the retail would be fine for my purposes, so I didn't end up pulling the trigger here, but I intend to get it at retail because I don't need those extra stuff. And in fact, I wasn't that interested in the little expansion where you do get to turn into an animal. You can shapeshift into an animal figure. And now that I'm saying it out loud, obviously I'm a fool. And
You're full of regret.
But I think just after the shipping and after the conversion into Canadian, I know what I can probably get it for, and it's probably for 40% cheaper. What the retail version will land when you don't have those deluxified elements. And for me, oh,
you're breaking up there, buddy. Oh, you're breaking up. Internet powers activate. He is totally frozen.
Can we hear? I can hear you.
Oh, you are. Oh, you're coming back. You're coming back.
Hear you.
Let's just let it. I'm gonna make a note that I'm gonna have to edit this part out. You live viewers get to see all the mistakes that the people ultimately won't have to see. Oopsie doops. All right.
Yeah, I can hear you the whole time, but am I?
Yeah.
Am
Okay.
I
Yeah,
now?
you froze and you were starting to chop up. So I'm sorry. You were. Go back about 30 seconds, and I've marked it.
That's great.
He's back, folks.
For this one, the deluxification that you get in the Kickstarter, I think is really nice. But for me, who's cheap, I could probably get it about 40%.
Right. Oh no, he's gone again.
Are we back?
The witches are cursing you once again.
The witches are cursing.
We have been rock solid for an hour and 40 minutes. And now, in the final stretch, things start falling apart. Let's see here. I'll tell you what. I'll
do one more time. I'll finish it up, and then we can keep our fingers crossed. I'll say that thing again. Action. This is one where, for the deluxe edition, I think you get a lot of great stuff, but for me, I don't think I'm going to need that stuff for this game to be fun. And so I'm happy getting it at retail for not paying the shipping and not paying those extra components. I think this is going to be a great game, though, and one that I know my girlfriend Renee will enjoy playing. And so it's almost an auto buy for me when it does hit retail, because I did enjoy my play of it so much.
Yeah. Actually, Kimberly covered the game for us on the channel when it came out, and she was a big fan too. And you mentioned it right up front. I think it is important to reiterate the big thing about this game. And you're back again. Your internet is starting to fail, folks. He literally had people out to ensure his internet was rock solid yesterday. They all lied to him. Would you like to give a shout out to your ISP in Canada?
Yeah, shout out to not Rogers.
There you go.
Awful.
No. But this, people tend to think of Mind Clash games as super crunchy, super heavy. Your Anachronies, your Tricerians, your Perseverance. This game is definitely, I mean, it's not a party game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a gateway, but it is a little bit lighter. There's not quite so much heavy lifting on this game too. In case you might be somebody who would have been scared of, I like the subject matter, but their games, they're too big and long. This is not like that.
Yeah, it feels very accessible to me.
Yeah. Cool.
That's a
All
great
right.
point.
Well, let's move on to number 3 on the list. And now this is the biggest game on my list, and I'm absolutely in love with it. It is Unconscious Mind, which... Geez Louise, Fantasia, the publisher who's behind this and also behind this year's big hit, Endless Winter, they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. What they are producing are so gobsmackingly beautiful. I mean, this game, their last game, Endless Winter, took my favorite artist of all time, D'Amico, and made this wonderful Paleo-American thing. This one combines two, my second favorite and I think my fifth favorite artists of all time, Vincent Dutrait and Andrew Bosley, making an absolutely stunning looking game all about beginning of the 19th century psychoanalysts in Vienna studying under Freud and trying to treat our patients. And you can watch my run through of this. This is a crunchy game. This is a big game. This is a long game. This is more akin to what we were saying that Septima wasn't. This game will really push you hard, but it is full of so many really cool, wonderful elements. I love the, what was the game? Canvas. That idea of, hey, these people have dreams that we are trying to analyze through Euro-style mechanisms, but we have to put these despair tiles over the top of them that represent, going deeper into the dreams. I mean, they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to go above and beyond with the really wonderful presentation. That just could have been a little baby card next to the main card, but they really tried to capture the feel of, an early turn of the century psychoanalyst actually trying to help people. But as great as it is presentation-wise, what's really fantastic is the worker placement. At its heart, this is a worker placement game where we're hanging around in Freud's apartment in Vienna and sending these little word balloon icons that indicate what we will talk about amongst our peers and contemporaries, which represent all these different actions we can do. Gathering resources. Our most important resource in this game is insight into the maladies of our patients. And to, cure somebody, I need to really understand about their, I'm trying to remember what they were. It's not like, really, it felt more natural and real. They were... I can't remember them now, but they weren't just despair and anger. They were much more clinical in their approach and very much fitting in the theme with Freud's teachings. And the important thing is, while you're doing the worker placement, which I don't think they're ever going to show because it is, there it is, the worker placement. You only get to see it briefly because it's the most boring looking of all the boards because everything else looks so much more pretty. But it's a worker placement / area control game because once you put your workers down, you can't interact with that particular action anymore. But by putting this down, I have potentially cut off a bunch of stuff that you would be able to interact with. You're driving this worker control / or worker placement / area control game into a goods gathering, harvesting style thing to be able to convert them into cards or, to complete recipes, i.e. cure your patients and race to, basically become the toast of the town because the more you focus on particular clientele from different regions of the town, there's also this whole other rondel game. This is definitely one of those games. It has like 4 games worth of stuff all combined into one. But sometimes that doesn't work out that well. But in this game, they all dovetail together because every decision you make in one of the little simultaneous parallel mini games directly affects how well you're going to be able to interact with those other mini games too. And so you've got a lot of plates spinning in this absolutely stunning, stellar, gorgeous looking game from Fantasia, who I think is very quickly going to become one of the known as one of the premier production and design houses when it comes to crunchy and incredibly thematic Euros. Both Jen and I were just blown away by it. That's why it's number 3 on the list. Unconscious Mind.
Yeah, great pick. This is the exact game that I was thinking about when we were talking about Delta, with all the different separate spots to it. But I think that's exactly it. That Fantasia Games has sort of established themselves with Endless Winter, and then putting out such a densely complex game that just works well with each other. I like all of the little games that are played in Unconscious Mind. This one is very exciting and is one that I think I would really enjoy. I haven't played it, but I'm very interested in trying this one out for sure.
Okay.
I think it's a great pick, yeah.
All right. Well, what's number 2?
All right, number 2, my last contribution to the list.
His personal number 1, folks.
My personal number one of the year. I think I've got to give it to, well, I know because I've already submitted this beforehand.
Yeah.
I know I've got to give it to Earth. Uh, Earth,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. Earth, which was by Inside Up
All
Games.
right.
They're the team that brought you Summit, which everybody now knows because it was on Trey Parker's. It was Trey Parker's number one when he
Right, on
did
the
that
Dice Tower thing he did,
on
yeah.
the Dice Tower. This game kind of represents what I look for in a crowdfunding campaign.
Okay.
In that it was a great price. I got to talk about the price. It was $42 Canadian. Sorry, $42 US, $54 Canadian. It had decent shipping, and it feels like it's going to give you a really solid game. It's a tableau builder.
Okay.
You're building 16 cards. You're putting 16 cards in front of yourself. The first person to trigger to build 16 cards triggers the end of the game. But it has one of my favorite mechanics of all time in it, and that's the follow mechanic. I've been doing this series on my channel of just defining and ranking the mechanics, and I'm at numbers 10 to 1, and it's definitely going to go in there where I do something and I get to do the better version of that thing,
Yep.
and everybody else gets to do the smaller version of that thing. That's what that mechanic is. And the whole purpose is to chain your actions together, because in addition, whatever you pick, you get to then trigger the colors of the cards that you've added to your tableau. You get to trigger that as an additional action. And so not only are you building your tableau and thinking about what things to put that'll give you the most points, you're also trying to think of, okay, how can I optimize these actions down the line, adding things in. It just looks like a really slick game. I always do a pick of the week. This was my pick of the week. It's by a Canadian publisher as well. Inside Up Games is Canadian, so that also
Hometown
might have helped push it to the top to represent Canada. And this is one that I know my mother purchased for me because she watches my show, and she saw me talking about it and was like, "Oh, I think he's gonna really like that one." And then she said, "Now, I did purchase you something, and when it arrives, I need you to know that it's from me and not from the publishers just like wanting to send you a review copy. But I purchased it because you said it was like it represented a good deal on Kickstarter, and I think it really does. The amount of variability that you're going to get here is huge. This is also Emily from Man vs. Meeple. It's her number one game of all time.
Oh,
just
wow.
having gotten it from the prototype and constantly playing it, because I was watching their top 10, their top 50, and it snaked into number one. And yeah, I think the hype for this is real. I think it's going to be another great, really accessible game in a theme. I like nature themes too. You know, I like that sort of nature theme that I think Wingspan has pioneered. And yeah, this one looks fun, and I'm excited. I'm excited to get it. So thanks, Mom. And in order to make sure her purchase is justified, well, I had to put it as number one.
There you go. Yes, because Mom knows best. Definitely. That's really interesting. I have to admit, I mean, this year it felt like there were a lot of Earth-themed projects.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't remember this one. I have to admit. Was it earlier in the year or later in the year? Because this one looks by far the best. This looks like, hey, it's Race for the Galaxy, but on Earth.
Yeah, it funded March 8th.
Okay, so it was earlier in the year. Yeah.
Earlier in the year. I'm just scrolling through the videos on my end too. I felt like Kimberly might have covered it.
Nope.
I don't know if she did. Nope, she didn't.
Nope, she did not. But I wish she did.
Not.
Although I'm kind of wishing I did too, because I mean, I love, like I said, that follow mechanism.
Yeah.
The whole, okay, I'll do the good version of everybody else gets the. I mean, because it's less. What makes that special is always the notion of paying attention. That is a direct form of player interaction. Everybody always ignores that, but when you're playing a game like this, or like Race for the Galaxy for that matter, you are trying to figure out, what is Chris going to do? Because if I can anticipate what you're going to do, I can do what I want to do while at the same time preparing for what I'll get to do for free on Chris's turn. And that is, to me, the most satisfying form of interaction, getting in your head and somehow always being in the right place at the right time. Not because of luck or because the dice went my way or because of the cards I drew, but because I was able to anticipate and determine what my opponents needed and use it to my own leverage. So whenever a game does that, I mean, you're right to put it, spoiler alert, for your upcoming top 10 greatest mechanisms of all time. I agree completely. And man, it looked freaking gorgeous too. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I think the production quality here is great, and I also look at the stretch goals and what you get, and it wasn't a huge amount, but you do get some nice wooden resource tokens, some silk screen stuff, some nice little upgrades to warrant paying for that shipping price versus getting it in retail.
Let me ask
But
you,
yeah,
you read the rules for it, I know, because you really did.
yeah,
How heavy would you say it is from what you understand? Certainly not a gateway-ish game. It
no,
doesn't look like. It looks like.
yeah, but no heavier than Wingspan.
Okay. Oh, and
I
kind of in the Wingspan realm. Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I would
Yeah,
put it.
that
I
does
would put
make
it
sense
in that
because
category. Yeah,
obviously they're
yeah, yeah.
targeting that audience too.
It's a good reference point too. Yeah, that's why.
Nice.
I would say probably Wingspan will be a little bit more difficult to grasp.
Well,
Personally,
Wingspan is
I
3 engines at once, basically.
yeah,
When it gets
yeah.
going, yeah.
I find with Wingspan, I know my barometer is usually my parents as well,
Mm.
and they had a little bit of trouble understanding or remembering the activations in
Yeah.
order. So that makes me I don't think Wingspan is like a gateway. I've seen it not be as easily accessed as I think it wants to be.
Ah,
And yeah.
I think we got what you were saying. You just dropped out there
Yeah.
for a second, but that's okay because, folks,
Yeah.
we've made it to the number one. And I promise you and I did not collude at all. And yet, your number two is such a beautiful segue into number one, globetrotting.
Whoa. Oh, nice.
Hey,
Nice.
look,
Good pick.
I will see your flat 2-dimensional Earth and raise you a 3-dimensional Earth. This was by far, this might have been my wife's favorite games we played in the entire year. She cannot wait for this thing to come out, available to retail. And you can talk about the value proposition of it and all that, because all I know is this game
Yeah,
is
yeah.
so much fun to play. It is a bingo style roll and write, or I should say flip and write, because you're not rolling cards, you're not rolling dice, you're drawing cards to determine how you are going to plan your 3 trips around the world. A trip for summer, for autumn, and for spring, summer, and autumn. And so we're in winter right now planning, but we're simultaneously planning 3 different trips on our absolutely stunning, awesome 3D globes that everybody gets to play with. And the toy factor of this is off the roof. It is every bit as fun to play with and manipulate this globe as you would expect. Picking it up, trying to figure out, well, okay, I guess I could go from Los Angeles to Puerto Rico. Does that make most sense? Well, it could be for my winter, but Puerto Rico is currently available as a summer trip. Am I going to be able to, what am I actually going to pull off? Every round in this game, there are going to be 3 destination cards, and each of them is going to be associated to one of the 3 trips, and you've got to pick, right? Okay, it could be Puerto Rico in the summer, or it could be Carcassonne in the spring, or it could be Bruges in the fall. And by the way, all the locations are references to famous board game locations that we've had over the years, which is absolutely awesome just for hardcore fans. But every round, that is an incredibly tough decision because you're trying to do really well on all 3 of these tracks because I have a goal for what my summer trip needs to be south of the equator. I never want to go north of the equator when I'm in my summer trip. In my autumn trip, I need to see a lot of animal life. And so, as often as not, the perfect card for your summer trip is what you could draft for your fall trip. And so trying to make those kinds of compromises and figuring out round to round what is the best one to take. And everybody's choosing from, the same 3 cards plus 3 what do you call them? Seasonal chips. So it has kind of, what do you call it? That Cascadia entwined drafting, where, when I'm drafting a thing, I'm really getting 2 things. And sometimes those things work perfectly together, chef's kiss. And other times, like, okay, I'm going to make a huge sacrifice, but I need to get to Santorini. I'd rather do it in the summer, but okay, I'll do it in the fall. Because in addition to your own personal goals, there are public goals. And I'm just scratching the surface. This is a very simple to teach game because it has a lot of legs built in. The standard way you play, everybody has a goal for their spring, summer, and fall, and you just play it pretty straightforward, simple. I would say probably Gateway, maybe Gateway Plus, but probably you could get away teaching this to anybody, and anybody's going to want to play it. If you see somebody sitting at a table playing with those globes, you will put your quarter on the table and say, I am next in order, please. I would like to play with those and draw all over them because they're fun to hold and all the rest of it. And it's actually a really smart design, too, that you draw straight lines by using the ruler that, is the centerpiece of the holder. Everything about this game is smartly produced. But I'm just describing the basic intro. You can increase the difficulty significantly by having more and more objectives. You can even start with an objective draft where instead of having 3, you'll have 5. And during that opening draft, I might have gotten, hey, you know what? Almost everything is about my winter trip. I don't care about my summer trip or my autumn trip. And so you can have a lot of different ways the game evolves. And it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, the toy factor of this alone makes it fun to play. But when Jen and I started playing the heavier variants and we saw, wow, this game gets incredibly crunchy. Every single choice, we are trying to fulfill 5 different things at once and trying to keep all this in our heads. It got, as crunchy as we would want right after playing, or as a lead into playing Unconscious Mind, another incredibly heavy game I talked about, and I absolutely loved it. Now, the one thing I can't say that I tried that I maybe love more than anything else as well is it's got a Between Two Cities vibe, because if you are playing at higher than 2, there are extra rewards that come out where if Chris is to my right, we both need to get to London. If we can both pull that, we will both score those points. So now we're colluding to try to, go to the same place during the game so that we can share points and beat whoever is on the other side of the table that we don't care about. So I love that level of interactivity too. They replace it with another system in the 2-player game that works equally well. I mean, don't feel like, if you get this as a couples gamer, you'll be missing out. I mean, because Jen, we played this one so much when I had the prototype. Much more than I needed to be able to film a run through. And she was so sad. She said, do we really have to send this one away? Does it really have to go in the mail to the next? And I'm like, yes, honey, it does. But we will definitely get a copy of this, make no mistake. Because this could be, aside from the gimmick, which is absolutely wonderful, even if you somehow took that out and turned it into a 2D game, it would be when you play with all this stuff turned on the crunchier, heavier end of roll and writes or flip and writes. And that's one of my favorite genres these days. Most of the time, these tend to be fairly light, but this, I would say, is heavier than crunchier than a Gone Shown Clever. And then on top of that, it's got the coolest components you are ever going to play with, which is why it came in at number 1 of the year, Globetrotting. And what did you think from what you saw of it?
I like this. I like this pick. I think Kickstarter is the place for these sorts of gimmicks. You know what I mean? And I think Road to Infamy, that they also did Canvas.
That's right.
And so that. Can you still hear me?
Nope.
Might be frozen.
Let's wait a second. And you start with Road to Infamy again.
Yeah. I think Road to Infamy, they're known for Canvas, right?
Yes.
That was also a very, very sort of gimmicky game with with even just the box being able to hang on your wall, which is so cool to me. Like I think that's wicked. They're like, hey, you want to play a game? Sure, let me take this picture down and just pull out a game. Like that feels so fun to me. I think Kickstarter is the place for these sorts of gimmicks that you may not see in wider retail distribution. For me, I think I remember thinking it looked really cool. I also remember thinking that the globe itself was a cool gimmick, but that also increases the cost of it, right?
Okay.
And so from like a cost to like play perspective, I wasn't as interested because, well, I was looking just at the retail version and it said, oh, you saved $12 on the retail version. I'm like, yeah, well, I would pay that in the shipping, so I don't really save anything from purchasing it right now. But it's definitely one that I was interested in trying. Like mechanically, it looks so sound.
Yeah.
And that's surprising to hear. I was considering it also more of a 2-player game as well.
Yep.
I like that you played it so much with Jen because I like the castle scoring, but I like having my own stuff that I don't have to share. And I think when you're plotting your own trip around the globe, it feels fun to be able to just kind of do that for yourself.
Yeah.
I think this one looks really cool.
Well, for the antisocial, that is an option to play with the mode where there are objectives between players to your left and right. For folks who would just like to not worry about what their neighbors are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that kind of it embodies what Kickstarter is about. It's taking these fun ideas and saying, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if we had a globe? We were drawing lines on the globe. Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
Right. And I like having games on my shelf that are unique, right? That do something that no other game does. Right. If it does something else, then I wouldn't need both on my shelf. And this I think would absolutely fall into that category. So I like it. I like it as the number 1 pick.
Well, that's it, folks. That was the top 10, by far definitive, unassailable, best
Yep.
crowdfunded games of 2022. And I want to say thank you so much to Chris. I mean, again, your approach to this is such a breath of fresh air, and I cannot recommend everybody enough. Go check out his channel. You will not, it costs you nothing to subscribe, and he does more than crowdfunding. I mean, you said coming up soon is your top 10 greatest mechanisms of all time. What was it? I mean, you counted down 300 mechanisms or something like that over the last few months.
Yeah, listed on Board Game Geek, it's like I think 186.
There you go.
But
yeah.
a lot of those are duplicates, and so I started at 150.
Okay.
And so I've been counting from 150 up, and now we're finally hitting the top 10. Or I think out tomorrow, or at least when we're recording this live. So maybe out today will be 20 to 11.
Okay. Well, they're coming soon, and plenty of other stuff besides, folks.
Yeah.
You will not regret checking out Room and Board Reviews. And Chris, thank you so much for stepping in for Ruel. Don't worry, Ruel fans, he will be back next week for our final R&R of the month, of the year, I should say. And before we go, one more thing. We're not done, folks. Did you know we have an after party? There is a post show where Chris and I will talk about 10 more games, the ones that just missed our list, which was streamed live on the 20th. And if you would like to check that out, you can hit that eye in the top right corner screen or follow the links down in the show notes to go to the extended version of this R&R and hear about a bunch more really great games. But with that done, Chris, we are Dunsville. Are you ready to go, sir?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was a friggin' blast, and I think we did come up with the definitive list. So if anybody says differently, we can fight them battle royale style.
You know they're simply not real gamers.
Yeah,
it boils right down to it. It's unassailable. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And have a happy holiday and a wonderful new year. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye. Boop. Okay, and oh my gosh, I know we said we were going to do more, but we're at 2:05.
That's true.
Yes.
We're running out of time.
And I think I just saw Ruel in the chat. So we are going to make good, but we're going to do it real quick like. Hey, what was your 10 through 6?
My 10 through 6 starting at 10?
Yes.
Well, I had 11.
However you want.
I had 11, but I'm good.
Okay, go 11. We'll give you 11 since we're going quick.
I had Darkest Doom. That one is big, sort of a minis game. It looked really cool.
Okay.
There are multiple ways to win, which I always think is neat. You can become part of the evil team. You can become part of the AI that you're fighting against, and then fight against everybody else.
Okay.
Solar 175. It was a Euro Legacy style game that feels very similar to Orleans, and I really like Orleans. So,
doesn't feel. I mean, it definitely wears that on its sleeve. Hey, we're Orleans in space with Legacy stuff.
We're Orleans in space. That's exactly it.
Yep.
Number 9, Bug Chal. This is an old Nepal type game. They ran this Kickstarter campaign. It's by Lemery Games. They ran a pay what you want Kickstarter campaign.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
And so I really thought that approach to Kickstarter was really cool, just to get this small game. And they'll use it as sort of a promotional for their next game, but they're just saying, hey, it does cost us around like $8 to $9 to produce this, so pay what you want, pay what you think it's worth, and pay more if you want to like help subsidize. And I just think that idea of crowdfunding is so nice. Then Earth Under Siege Flashpoint, that was a sort of stealth game.
So there's your big box of plastic.
There's my big box of plastic. I thought that one looked really cool, and again, kind of unique. The stealth idea that you didn't want to have an all-out dungeon crawl fight, but you wanted to sneak past the guards, felt really neat. Number 7 was something that I backed, the Unfair expansion. I really like Unfair, and I will be getting every bit of content. You got the Funfair?
No, Funfair for me, thanks. Don't need to go Unfair, but yeah.
Yeah, whenever I play with my girlfriend, we play Funfair with Unfair cards. Yeah.
If you and I would ever play, I guess I'd be playing with your girlfriend is what it sounds like instead of you. Since you have all your unfair stuff you want to play with.
Yeah. I like the Unfair stuff in a head-to-head game because then it makes sense to kind of pull your opponent down because you know what they have, right? But in a group game, it generally makes sense to benefit yourself. So that's why I don't mind the unfair aspects to it. And then finally, number 6 was a game called Holotype, which I almost swapped with Robomon, honestly. But it's a game about building dinosaurs. There were only like 700 backers. it just looks really good. It's very simple worker placement. Your workers can do different things. You can have different types of workers, and it feels like it could be accessible dinosaur wingspan as like a teaser
Wow.
to
What was
get
that one
like
called again?
holotype.
Holotype.
Uh,
Okay. That sounds
yeah,
dimly familiar. All right.
yeah. It really didn't get a lot of coverage as well. It was one of those that I was really happy to find because I read through the rulebook and I was like, yeah, this seems really simple, but just really satisfying. You're getting resources, you're completing dinosaurs, and you have different spots to fight over. So all of those were felt fun. So it was almost on the top 5, but it just edged out.
Now, you had a very good top 5. I was really that was a great. Honestly, I kind of
That was
felt
a
like, I
great
mean,
list.
a lot of those felt like ones that Ruel would have chosen, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I know, which was
Well,
fantastic. So he was
that's
here with us in
cross-reference.
spirit, and he's here with us, waiting, looking at his analog watch as time passes. All right, mine really quickly. Again, my top 11. Number 11, I decided not to put on the list because I didn't want to get into a fist fight with you. Would have been Old London Bridge from Queen. I think
I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I thought that one looked fun.
it is by far, I mean, I played several of their games, and of course, this is the year of their Felled City stuff, and that's all anybody
Yeah.
pays attention to. Old London
Yeah.
Bridge really slipped on. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Number 10 would have been, sadly, the only one I think that didn't fund, Leviathan Wilds, which was so good. This was basically the old PlayStation 2 game, Shadows of Colossus, turned into a board game. Some of the best cooperative mechanisms and also some of the most thematic mechanisms I have ever seen in a board game. And, they say they're coming back, in the new year, but oh my gosh, I really hope it succeeds because it was fantastic. Number 9 was Frozen Frontiers from the same developer from Arcane Wonders and I can't remember the name of the developer. I'm not supposed to talk about, but the Russian developers, who a lot of people were like, the game barely funded. I think there was a lot of, anti-Russian sentiment. But the developers of that literally fled their country after spending a lot of time marching in the streets, putting themselves in danger. But none of that has anything to do with anything. It was a really fantastic area control / worker placement game with some fun mechanisms from the developers of Aquatica. It was a really good, solid game. Wish it had done better. Number 8, Encyclopedia. A big, physically huge production, all where we're trying to make the first entries into the world's first encyclopedia by traveling all over the world and studying and researching and stealing dice from each other. It has a very Twa vibe because we all roll dice and like, oh, my dice are nice, but your dice are better. But the thing is, I might be coming for your dice. So after you roll, you get to specify, well, if anybody wants to take this die, they got to pay me. If anybody wants to take this die, well, they can take it free because I don't really care about that. So you can actually plan and even hope people take your dice from you because maybe you don't want that die, but I do. So you make it expensive for me to take it from you. You made it too expensive. Okay, you're stuck with it now, pal. Really lots of cool stuff. Number 7, Oak. That's 2 games from Game Brewer I had on this list. If I'd done my full 10, they had a very, very good year. Another really smart worker placement game with a wonderful toy factor because the worker placement is already sharp, and man, this game is super duper tight. You are so asset poor throughout the game. But when you can get enough assets together to be able to put one of these really cool hats, yes, apparently, from our earlier pre-show, on these workers, and they kind of snap on like Legos, then suddenly those druids you're sending around become literal druid superheroes. But only if you send them to certain areas, and often, I don't want to send him here, I want to send him there. So it was a really sharp game. And then number 6, which I almost just went back and forth, putting it on the list into the number 5 slot, was Fate Forge Chronicles of Khan. Which is, a cooperative, narrative, fantasy, co-op adventure. But the thing that really makes it stand out from all of its contemporaries, including Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, is the actual combat in that game. You will play a combat session in like 20 minutes. So if you're going to sit down for 2 hours, if you sit down for 2 hours of Gloomhaven or Frosthaven, that's an hour and 50 minutes of just really hard noodling and moving slowly and fighting a bunch of stuff and fighting a war of attrition. Whereas Fate Forge is Okay, well, of that 90 or that 2 hours, you're going to have 3 different encounters. Each one lasts 20 minutes, and each one having some of the coolest, most fast-paced, and cinematic action you can imagine. And then on top of that, really sharp storytelling in between in the city stuff. So I really like that one too. I did not put on my list. I could have talked about Sagrada Artisans. There's a new Aeon's End, La Granja Deluxe, the On Tour, Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, Dead Reckoning, Grand Carnival. And like I said, I was going to talk about stuff that already came out, and then I forgot, and I put Paradox Initiative in. But my wife, I had to. When I was talking with Jen about, hey, which ones did you really like? And literally, the first 2 she thought of, the Globe game and the Dr. Mario game. You got to talk about those 2. I'm like, okay, I'll put them on the list.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? Like it's so impacted by who you're going to get these things to the table.
Yeah,
with
definitely.
too, right? Yeah, I felt like I might see an Encyclopedia on the list.
Oh,
That
it's
would have
good.
been
It's
a
so
guess.
good.
Yeah. I'm excited because I don't think I looked into Leviathan because it canceled. Because I looked.
Oh, so you didn't make it onto your show? Yeah, because
It didn't make it
I
onto
think
my
they
show.
went halfway and then said, okay, this isn't
Yeah.
going to happen. We're going to retool and come back. But I
Yeah.
mean, watch for it because
I'm excited now. Yeah,
It's so
I'll be keeping
good.
my eyes peeled.
Yeah, I mean, I love cooperative games, and it's very rare. I mean, it's one of those cooperative games where it's very rare, like Spirit Island, where you can kind of like plan and do stuff, all at the same
Yeah.
time. And okay, well, if you
Yeah.
just wait a little bit and give me this, I'll do that. A lot of really good stuff in that game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Ruel, let me confirm. I'm sure Ruel has been very patiently waiting all
We
this
got to
time.
pass it over to Ruel.
Twitch.tv/Ruel.
I've stolen his thunder for long enough.
I know,
I'm
yes.
sorry, Ruel.
Yep. People are about to riot in the streets. They are demanding Ruel. Okay, and it looks like, yes, he is on for Hickory Dickory. That's the title. Hickory Dickory from Plaid Hat
Hickory
Games.
Dickory.
And then come back in January when I cover the clocks of Dickory Dock so that we can complete the duology and, combine powers. Okay, let me find the raid button. Folks, you know how raiding works on Twitch. We love Ruel. We think he's the great. Yep, and I see him sitting right there, just very patiently waiting. And he says, we're going to be here any second, and we are. Folks, we are going to raid Ruel in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Raid! Go, 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 go! Please, go, go, go! I always worry that it won't work. Let's see. Turn on the sound. All right. And we raided successfully. Yes! We are out. Now, this is interesting. Everybody's gone now. It's just you and me, but we are still live. I just noticed it says in OBS, we are live, unstable. Why is that?
Oh.
I have never seen that happen. All this time, could it have been me? Surely not. But that's neither here nor there, because I'm
Surely
now
not.
going to hit the stop streaming button, because nobody needs to hear this. But thanks, folks, who watched these last little few seconds. Stick around. We'll talk about, we'll do an after action report. All right. In stream now.